that happen while in the air above you at Hale Center Theater. That's just one of the highlights. And I have to tell you, while every performer is magnificent in the play, the Pharaoh, when the Pharaoh is on stage, he commands the theater. And how in the world do you present all of the plagues and miracles? Hale Center Theater does it beautifully. This is the time, too, to get your season tickets, especially if you want to see Frozen. All you have to do is go to hct.org.
There's a lot on the line in a divorce. Your home, savings, retirement, maybe even kids. So when you find yourself facing divorce and the unexpected directions it can take, you really need a partner you can count on. I'm Rick Julius, a partner at Cordell & Cordell. We're committed to helping protect your personal interests and the life you've built. Don't let divorce take more than it has to. Talk to us today.
Offices in Midvale and Clearfield. 1412 South Legend Hills Drive, Suite 200, Clearfield, Utah, 84015. Online at CordellCordell.com.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Mountain America's limited time balance transfer bonus. Let's go to the traffic center with Heather Kelly.
Well, traffic is easing up and returning to normal speeds across most of the Wasatch Front, but you're still going to see plenty of brake lights northbound I-15 as you leave the Timpanogos Highway area in Utah County, heading north over the point of the mountain through Draper, Sandy, Midvale, all the way up to the South Salt Lake area where you would meet up with I-80 heading east into Sugar House. You also have a bit of congestion on Foothill Drive as you exit the east side belt, but it looks like almost all the traffic is back to normal on the west side of the valley where we had a power outage earlier this morning. Use Superior Water and Air for all your HVAC and water treatment needs. Call 974-9090 or visit superiorwaterandair.com. Superior Water and Air, we got this. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather today will be mostly sunny with highs in the upper 40s. Right now it's 30 degrees and sunny in Salt Lake City. I'm Andy Farnsworth from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio. Eye on the Hill 2025. Special coverage with Dave and Dujanovic.
Here's what we're going to talk about right now. Changes appear to be in store for Utah's popular vote by mail program. And we've talked about this before, but there's some new changes. Utah lawmakers have recrafted legislation. And the one thing about this new pitch that worries Dave is doesn't seem to be any signature verification required when you return your mail-in ballot. So let's start right there, Dave.
I didn't think I'd be defending signature verification because I always thought the signature verification is kind of a weird way to do it, right? We're one of only 12 states in the country that doesn't have some sort of ID, like present your ID way of voting. So we're already kind of unique in this way. So what is our solution if we don't want to present our ID? Well, we have you sign your ballot. And then we get your ballot and we verify it. We make sure that your signature that you put on your ballot looks like your signature on your driver's license. Now we're getting rid of that in this latest proposal. Okay, so if you're getting rid of this signature verification, what are you replacing with it that is more secure, easier to follow, more effective? Oh, the last four of your driver's license. But that's more secure? I would think that it's easier to track down the last four digits of my driver's license than it is to forge my signature.
When you say track down, do you mean somebody taking those last four digits who doesn't belong, taking those last four digits and then using them on your ballot to pretend like they're you?
If someone wanted to fraudulently use my ballot, right, if they wanted to forge my ballot, is it going to be easier to track down the last four digits of my driver's license or to forge my signature? I think it's way harder to forge my signature. I show my driver's license to everybody. Everybody that, hey, I need to see your driver's license. I whip it out. I show it to them. It has my driver's license number right there. I've texted it. I've taken pictures of it. I've uploaded it, right? I mean, my driver's license is not secure. It is out there. That information's out there.
Well, let me talk about what my big concern is now that you've laid your big concern out. Mine is there's a little math involved with this new proposal on Capitol Hill. We're going to get with a lawmaker who is sponsoring this legislation, in just a moment. He's actually waiting on the line. So give me about a minute here to describe what I think is my biggest concern, what stands out to me. There's math involved, at least in my world. It's new math. You know how good I am at math, not. So if your mail, my understanding of it is if your mail-in ballot status expires after 8 years, it will expire after 8 years if you don't renew it. So it's an opt-in system. So you have to opt in to get a mail-in ballot. And if I don't vote within 2 consecutive general elections, my mail-in ballot status will expire. I mean, I'm just so confused by this, Dave.
Well, it's very easy, Debbie. The Deseret News explains this change very easily. Let me read you verbatim what you tried to explain.
Voters in Utah will only receive a mail-in ballot if they request one when they renew their state ID, register to vote, vote in person, fill out an online form on the Lieutenant Governor's website, or submit a form at their county clerk's office. Mail-in ballot status will expire after 8 years if not renewed, or if the voter does not vote in 2 consecutive regular general elections.
I just could not figure it out this morning when I was reading through it at 4 a.m., and here I'm reading through it at 9 a.m., and I'm still not able to figure out, how do I get a mail-in ballot? Representative Jefferson Burton on the line with us. You're sponsoring this legislation. Let's start there with my concern first. The opt-in measure in this new proposal. How do I make sure I keep getting a mail-in ballot? Because right now, the way it's structured, it's automatic. My ballot just shows up in my mailbox along with all other registered voters in Utah.
I think we've got. Oh, sorry, we just cut out for a second. Representative Jefferson Burton joins us again. Walk us through Deb's concern about the renewal process or making sure that she receives her mail-in ballot.
Okay. Hey, Dave, I think it's important to start by saying that we were 33 out of 50 for election security. Now, this new bill brings us to 9 out of 50 for election security by adding the ID requirement. So to Deb's concern, we will by 2028. It's going to roll very easily when your driver's license or state ID expires. You'll be asked the question, a very simple yes or no question, as to whether you want to continue to vote by mail. You check the yes, and nothing really changes. The only change in the vote by mail process is that you have to include the last 4 of your driver's license number. But to make it very clear to your concern, Dave, you'll also sign the back of your envelope. And there will be a dual authentication going on when that returns to the county clerk. They'll check the driver's license. It's in a database. The chances of somebody stealing your driver's license and your vote-by-mail materials is about zero. I suppose it could be done. But then they're going to also, if there's any questions, look at that signature as they've done in the past. So that is in the bill, that dual authentication. And so we're just trying to increase the security of our elections. Utah's excellent in everything, in every aspect, when you compare us with other states. But one area we didn't like was being 33 out of 50 for election security. And so this will bring us up to number 9. And I think it's a good effort. We listened to the citizens, and we understood that they love vote by mail. And so one of the things that helps the state with security is to have an opt-in for that process.
And I'm absolutely with you. I want fast, I want easy, I want accurate, I want all these things. But just to clarify, will there still be a signature on my ballot that will have to be verified?
That's correct. The signature on the back of your envelope is going to remain there. And so you'll have that driver's license number in the envelope, and then you'll have that signature for them to validate who you are. So it actually increases security. And it can also speed things up, which is one of the other things Utahns didn't like, was that it took us so long to release election results. And so in this bill, it will require that those results are released the night of the election. Statistically, mathematically, you can do that, even if you have some votes left to count. And then on those races that are too close to call, you can easily not call that race until you have the requisite number of votes in. But speeds up the process. Voters get nervous when they see Utah with 2 or 3 other states that can't call an election in a rapid fashion, and then you wonder if more bags of ballots are being found or something. And so this was one thing that voters on the Y2 Analytics poll from Sutherland and a Hinckley Institute poll were concerned about, was speed with which we reported the election.
Representative Jefferson Burton on the line with us right now, walking us through what this new proposal on Utah's Capitol Hill would require Utah voters to do to have their ballot counted. They're making changes to the mail-in ballot process, and so we're trying to learn more about that right now. And I wish I could say, hey, thanks so much for explaining all this to me. I understand it. Let me let you go back to work now, Representative. But I am still confused about a couple of things. So if you don't mind me just camping on this to make sure I'm perfectly clear on how this will work for me and for our listeners.
Of course.
Okay, so I signed the back of my ballot. I signed my ballot, and I can still mail it in using a blue mailbox at the U.S. Postal Office somewhere in the state. That's okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
The only thing I can say real quick is you can also use the drop boxes like we've done in the past.
Right.
There won't be anybody there like with the original. You can drop them in there as well.
Okay. So the original proposal called for me to return it to a ballot box, provided I'm, didn't get an absentee ballot and overseas or something like that. Would have required me to take it back to a ballot box, maybe stand in a line and have a poll worker verify my signature on the spot. But that you've done away with that, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was going to be a logistical nightmare. Yeah.
Okay, a logistical nightmare is what you said. Yeah. And then instead I will put my driver license or some sort of state ID number or part of that on my ballot along with my signature before I mail it back in or drop it off at a ballot box.
Correct.
Okay. And then Dave's got another question, and I have another question about how we opt in. So just hold the line after he gets done with his question.
So as I'm reading through this article in the Deseret News, and this is where I was, I guess, my concern about the signature verification. The article says that signature verification will be phased out by 2028, and that it will shift from signature verification to this state ID number. But you said that the signature verification is going to continue. So is the signature verification going to be phased out eventually?
Yeah, we don't talk about that in this bill, and anything's possible, but I think as it stands right now, the signature is going to remain on the envelope along with the number. And honestly, the number is pretty valuable and accurate, because you're correct, somebody might be able to steal your driver's license number, but they're likely not going to be able to get into your mail and steal your mail-in ballot as well. Again, we're just trying to improve security. Nothing is foolproof or perfect, but this dramatically improves the security of our election system.
So if we're not getting rid of the signature, we're adding the last four of your driver's license number. I guess, how does it speed everything up if it's essentially the same process, except adding the driver's license number?
It's just like anything else. You realize you've got technology. I'm not great with technology at my age, but I still use it, and I've come to really appreciate the dual authentication system on my phone for getting into certain systems that I'm trying to get into. So it's just using that thought process. Two forms is better than one. It's more secure, safer, and if there's a question about one or the other, you can validate it using the other capability.
I want to talk a little more about opting in to receive a mail-in ballot, Representative. In this portion of the legislation, my read is I would have to opt in once this legislation passes to be included in the mail-in ballot process. Even though I get a mail-in ballot now, would I have to opt in initially to start receiving them in upcoming elections?
Yeah, if you haven't opted in, because some folks like to vote in person, they've been doing that even with our vote by mail. You would need to opt in. You can do that by going into your county clerk's office or do it online, just like you register for voting now. We're trying to make it simple and fairly easy to do. If you haven't done that, you just need to get online and do that. After 2028, when this thing's fully implemented, it will just roll. So Dave's license may expire in July. He needs to go in when he does his license and opt back in for 8 more years. Your license expires in December. You go into December and you opt in then. And so you'll just continue to receive the vote by mail materials. we felt like some states do it every year, require that every year. Florida does, and we felt like it was more reasonable to just tie it to your driver's license or your state ID. The other thing I'd like to quickly mention, we have a lot of citizens that don't drive. This bill provides free state ID for those folks. That's a $23 charge normally, and we're going to give that to folks free that can't afford it, and reach out to those who are handicapped or otherwise don't have a driver's license so that they can have that number that they need to vote.
Okay. And then finally, if I happen to miss, I'm just using myself as an example, but if I have to miss two consecutive general elections, then I automatically come off of the opt-in mail-in ballot option?
Yes, and that is, again, it's just based on security. If you haven't voted in 2 consecutive general elections, one of the things we're trying to do, if you look at the bill, is clean up the voter rolls. We have 1,400 dead people on our voter rolls, and a lot of the bill talks about what the lieutenant governor will do, and it's focusing on cleaning up those voter rolls. And so that's why if you don't vote in 2 consecutive elections, you would drop off, and you'd be required to come back online or go in person if you prefer that option to continue to vote by mail.
Will I get a reminder like I do, when my, Rocky Mountain Power bill is due and the email that my opt-in option is going to opt me out? Will I get some sort of reminder, automated reminder?
That's one of the things, Debbie, great question. We've tried to appropriate about $2 million in this bill to help our county clerks. And by the way, they are amazing. They do a wonderful job on elections. I'm so proud of the way Utah does the election process. Short of this ID requirement that we didn't have, we're going to fix that. But the $2 million will be for education processes, mailers, spots on radio and TV to help people understand what their responsibilities are. And again, we're trying to make it as painless as possible with a online or an in-person opt-in. And then once 2028 hits, it will just simply happen with that key document in your life, your driver's license or your state ID's expiration.
Representative Jefferson Burton, thank you for walking us through and clarifying the most recent modified bill. We'll see if it gets all the way through. We appreciate your time.
So the no signature verification component would be at the ballot box, right? From what the previous legislation was, it sounded like we were all going to have to go to a ballot box or polling center with some sort of valid ID to verify our signature while we were standing in line waiting to turn in our ballot. Well, this one eliminates that. You can still use the U.S. Postal Service or ballot drop box to return your ballot, but you also have to add not only your signature, which is we already sign the backs of our envelopes when we return our ballots, but also add those few digits from our state issued ID.
And this signature verification process is part of the reason why we take so long to get our results. Because every time we drop off our ballot, a human has to go in there, rip off the tab, look, and then 2 other people have to look at the signature, compare the signature. If the signature isn't, and it's typically your driver's license signature, and if it doesn't match very closely, that it goes to another person, a third person, to look at it, to verify it. And that's part of what takes so long to gather all the results. So the signature verification process is very timely. It's time-consuming. I shouldn't say it's timely. It's time-consuming. Is it effective? Yeah, I mean, it's hard to forge a signature, right? But we've talked to county clerks, and the problem they have with the signature verification is they will have a mother that will sign for her missionary. They will have a husband that will sign for his wife and forge their signature. And they have to call them and touch base with them and tell them, that is illegal. That is breaking the law. You cannot do that. You cannot sign somebody else's ballot. And this is not something that happens occasionally. It happens more often than you want to admit.
So I want to touch on 2 things. I want to touch on the signature verification in person, which is now no longer part of this new legislation. Where my concern always lied is within rural Utah, where we have a lot of people who live in the middle of nowhere. I think of people who live in Indian country, who have a difficult time maybe in November trudging through weather conditions to go to a polling place to have their signature verified. So this eliminates that portion of it. I mean, they can still use the U.S. Postal Service to return their ballot if they so wish. They could also drive it to a ballot box, but they have the option of staying in their communities to return the ballots. The second component is this opt-in, 8 years, renewed with your driver license, opt-in. If you miss 2 consecutive general elections, then you're opted out. Okay, I will just say this about that. There needs to be an intense educational component to this, because right now it's pretty seamless in my world. I get my ballot in the mailbox. I sit at my kitchen table. I take it to the U.S. Postal Service, drop it off. I know you drop yours off at the ballot box, to each his own, because both are legal options. However, I want to be, knocking on my neighbor's doors after this passes to say, you have to opt in now. You have to be aware of this. You have to know that these rules have changed. And I think, and it sounds like they're allocating some money for an education process, I think that is going to be very, very important.
Yeah, and I think I appreciate that we're trying to make this fast, easy, accurate. It's hard to please everybody, right? Because everybody votes a little bit differently, has their own preferences. But I am a little bit surprised that there is not a visual physical ID requirement. It's something that across the nation, 82% of Americans support a physical ID being used to vote. I'm still a little bit surprised that that's not required here in Utah.
Next, let's take a deep dive into another proposal on Capitol Hill for drug-free homeless shelters in Utah. Maybe you thought this was already a requirement. Well, we're going to find out more about that next.
If you've ever set New Year's resolutions before, you know how difficult it is to follow through because you have to wait to see the results. What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and in honor of your New Year, New You resolutions, Any Hour Services is having our New Year, New System sale. From now until the end of February, Any Hour Services will give you $2,025 off a new furnace and air conditioner. And you don't have to wait to save the money. You get $2,025 off at the time of purchase. The only thing you have to do to qualify for our New Year, New System sale is call Any Hour Services and schedule a free estimate. When you call, there's no obligation to buy. Just schedule a time to meet that works best for you. Let me say that again. From now until the end of February, when you have Any Hour Services install a new furnace and air conditioner, we'll give you $2,025 off. Call Any Hour Services right now and schedule a free estimate. 801-443-7400. You can Google Any Hour Services. You can even schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
At JCW's, we think tipping might be getting a little out of hand. Like when you're asked to tip at the register before you've even been served, or when you're at the yogurt shop and find yourself serving yourself. And don't even get us started on frosted tips making a comeback. That's why at JCW's, when you pay for a 3rd-pound ranch bacon cheeseburger, that's what you pay. And no one at the register is going to stare longingly at you while you awkwardly maneuver through the tip screen for food you don't even have yet. Honestly, we're just happy to see you at any of our 5 locations in Provo, South Jordan, Lehigh, Harriman, and American Fork. So come on in and enjoy some quality time and great food with family and friends. And we promise, we won't be pushing you for a tip.
Hey, this is Chris with JCW's, and we just want to say thank you, and especially to our loyal customers. We want you to know that at JCW's, your business is all the tip we need. JCW's, quality and a lot of it.
Will you get your fair share of benefits from Social Security? You know, the new Social Security Fairness Act could impact thousands of Utah families. For personal guidance on how it could impact your Social Security filing decision, get a free Social Security analysis from Boss Retirement Solutions. If you've saved more than $200,000 and have not filed for Social Security, schedule your free analysis now by calling 801-896-9622. Filing for Social Security could be one of the biggest financial decisions of your life because the difference between your best and worst case scenarios could literally be hundreds of thousands of dollars. You only get one chance to get this right. So get your free customized analysis now by calling 801-896-9622. 801-896-9622. Boss Retirement Solutions is not affiliated with the Social Security Administration.
The Management Minute is a service of the MBA program in the John M. Huntsman School of Business at Utah State University. I'm Professor Scott Hammond. Next time somebody says, "I'm absolutely sure," watch what happens. The speaker just claimed all of the right in the room. You can agree or disagree, but you can't modify or clarify. The late Senator Frank Church of Idaho once told me that you will always gain more support if you allow others the privilege of amending your truth. In other words, don't announce truth, build truth together. I'm sure that will work better. At least pretty sure of it. Learn more about persuasive leadership with an MBA from Utah State University. Go to utahstatemba.com for more information. That's utahstatemba.com. I'm Scott Hammond. Hope to see you in one of our classes.
9:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Andy Farnsworth. KSL's top story this hour. Using cell phones in Utah classrooms could soon be against the rules after a bill setting a statewide standard passed unanimously through a Utah House committee. The sponsor, Senator Lincoln Fillmore, says his bill is meant to encourage individual school districts to set their own policies.
The policy position, if Senate Bill 178 passes, will be cell phones should not be in school classrooms or should not be used in school classrooms unless school districts decide they should.
The bill is now heading to the full House. People who have had felony convictions could soon be eligible to serve on a jury in Utah. This bill substitutes a previous bill that allowed felons to vote and to run for political office 10 years after, but does not allow them to be on a jury. Assistant State Court Administrator Michael Drexel says they want a true cross-section of the population.
And so for people who are interested in being involved in civic life, they can go through the process and do their part, and then they can do their share of the work in terms of doing jury duty, and that would be beneficial, I think, for everybody.
This new bill would allow anyone whose felony had been reduced to a misdemeanor or expunged to serve on a jury. The bill has passed through the House and Senate. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. President Trump is proposing a new immigration policy, which includes a gold card.
The president making news on another front, announcing a new version of the green card, saying the U.S. will sell gold cards for $5 million to wealthy foreigners who want to live here. He says the immigration program, which he says he may call the Trump gold card, will be a, quote, very strong path to citizenship. And while he hasn't yet released the details, he says the program will likely start in roughly 2 weeks, and he estimates the U.S. could sell more than 1 million of these gold cards.
ABC's Mary Bruce reporting. Your money at this moment, the Dow's up 118 points to 43,740. Coming up, sunshine all this week, although today's going to be a little bit colder than the rest of the week. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time 9:32.
Mornings are for recharging.
And they're for starting your day right.
We volunteer to join you in the car. Get news and weather at 102.7 FM during the most important part of your day.
Andy and Amanda, each morning between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
Americans love using their credit cards, the most secure and hassle-free way to pay. But D.C. politicians want to change that with the Durbin-Marshall credit card bill. This bill lets corporate megastores pick how your credit card is processed, allowing them to use untested payment networks that jeopardize your data security and rewards. Corporate megastores will make more money, and you pay the price. Tell Congress to guard your card, because Americans lose when politicians choose. Learn more at guardyourcard.com. Paid for by the Electronic Payments Coalition.
Les Olson IT is now a Rico Graphic Arts and Production Systems dealer. Rico chose Les Olson because of our reputation for superior service and national recognition. Les Olson IT chose Rico Graphics because they're the best value compared to other commercial-grade printers. Rico excels in high volume, high speed, high resolution, and offers an exciting fifth color. Learn more at lesolson.com.
Les Olson IT.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Mountain America's limited time balance transfer bonus. Here's Heather Kelly.
We are still looking pretty good across the Wasatch Front. Most of the delays are gone now, but you might still see a few brake lights northbound I-15 as you come out of Utah County over the point of the mountain. A lot of that is just getting up the hill. But we don't have any accidents reported right now on city streets or major freeways. So right now it's going to be a good drive whether you're north, south, east, or west. Golden Rule Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling has a 100% satisfaction guarantee and financing plans as low as 0%. Schedule your appointment today at goldenrulephc.com. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather. Today will be mostly sunny with highs in the upper 40s. The rest of the week be even warmer with highs on Sunday reaching 60 degrees. Right now it is sunny and 37 degrees in Salt Lake City, 37 degrees in Provo, and 34 degrees in Ogden. I'm Andy Farnsworth from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
Eye on the Hill 2025 special coverage with Dave and Dujanovic.
Well, many people, not all, but many people experiencing homelessness will stay in a homeless shelter in Utah. There's a proposal on Capitol Hill that we're going to talk about right now. It calls for zero tolerance drug policy in our homeless shelters. Maybe you already thought this was a thing. Well, we're going to talk to the Utah lawmaker behind this proposal in just a minute to find out more.
This is really interesting because, Debbie, I think I'm that person. I'm the person that just assumed that if you were staying in a homeless shelter overnight, that there would be some sort of guarantee or a check to make sure that drugs weren't coming in and being used, that there was obviously that this was a safe environment and clean environment, but it sounds like that wasn't necessarily the case. And when I saw this story in the Deseret News, and I saw that Representative Clancy, Tyler Clancy, was kind of spearheading this to make sure that shelters were drug-free. I wanted to get him on the line and find out more and see what this would look like. So, Representative, thank you for joining us. Maybe you can walk us through a little bit what the current situation is in homeless shelters, and are drugs often being used in these shelters?
Well, thank you both so much for having me. This really is an important issue. What we're trying to do is codify best practices. So for many of our homeless shelters who have been operating for many years, what they're going to do is they're going to conduct a bag check, a search through someone's belongings that they're bringing in at the point of entry. And then they're going to have policies about conduct and exits. So, for example, as mentioned, if someone's, smoking meth in that facility, the ones who have been around for a long time, they're going to exit those individuals because we know that's not safe, especially for those people who are in recovery, trying to get away from those drugs. But as we grow in this winter response model, we're having new shelters pop up across the state where traditionally they haven't been service providers for. Maybe they've been a food bank. Maybe they've been a therapeutic community. And so what we're trying to do is set the standard and make sure that we have a clear zero tolerance policy for drug use at our shelters.
So, Representative, to be clear, your legislation is not calling for regular drug testing of people who are staying at homeless shelters, but more of having these shelters be drug-free zones with a zero tolerance policy using bag searches. Would this also require searches of their clothing that they're wearing, the pockets and that kind of thing?
Usually that is what takes place. And you nailed it. We're not going to be drug testing people to access services. So there's this definition, I guess you could say, it's called low barrier shelter. And that's really important. That's where if someone is homeless, they can come in off the street and they don't have to engage in some, treatment plan. They don't have to, like you said, be drug tested. They don't have to get baptized. If you're a religious shelter, that's not a low barrier either because there's some engagement there. But what we're doing is setting the standard for activity to say you can be addicted to drugs and come to the shelter and get safe for the night. You can be dealing with alcoholism or whatever it might be, but when you're on the premises, you can't bring that in. You cannot be doing that activity in the shelter because there's families, there's children, and there's people in recovery who really we need to make these facilities safe so that we can protect those taxpayer resources.
Is this specifically or exclusively for low barrier shelters, or would this include some sort of more long-term housing for folks that are trying to get off the streets?
So if a place is going to be a higher barrier, they're probably going to have some engagement standards. So, for example, if you're in a sober living, they probably will drug test you.
Yeah.
They probably will have you do a urine analysis or whatever it might be. This is what we're just saying is we need to make sure that these places are safe. We've seen public challenges with growing capacity for homeless resources, and there's this perception that sometimes homeless shelters can be havens for crime, or they're harboring, criminals who just want to be anonymous. And we want to put an end to that. And we want to make sure to say, if you need help, we're going to give you all the tools in the world to help and to heal. But we're not going to look the other way when it comes to really harmful criminal activity.
Representative Tyler Clancy is on the line with us right now, walking us through his proposal on Capitol Hill to make homeless shelters across the state, drug-free zones. And he was walking us through what that would look like at these homeless shelters. And you brought up, if somebody's smoking meth on the premises, the campus, I would think that the coordinators at those homeless shelters would be engaging with law enforcement if somebody were going to that extreme in using meth or whatever, heroin, shooting up heroin in the shelter. And I know you are in law enforcement, so maybe you have some perspective on this. Do shelters call law enforcement from what you know when that kind of activity is going on?
It's a great question, Debbie, and I'll tell you. I want to start by saying I think everyone is doing the best that they possibly can. But there's a difference when it comes to priorities if someone's a licensed clinical social worker and someone's tasked with protecting the public against crimes. And so what we're trying to do is set the expectation of this cooperation together. So let's put it this way. If it's 2 o'clock in the morning and a situation kicks off, and these can be complicated and complex situations, we don't want to put the burden on the individual working at the shelter or on the law enforcement. We don't want to create these arguments to just say, let's create clear policies and procedures so that we can have as seamless as the criminal justice system can be, a seamless transition to make sure that everyone's on the same page. And I believe, as someone who's boots on the ground, when we set clear expectations, it actually takes a pressure off because the policies and procedures that you're going to have to play. And so it's not an argument. It's not these deliberations, back and forth, especially when the moment of crisis arrives. So we're trying to get ahead of that here in House Bill 329.
So it sounds like if somebody is in this shelter and they start breaking the rules, they are using drugs on the premises, they will be removed. But if it's one of those cold nights, what happens? Where do they go if they have to be removed from the shelter?
Well, it probably depends on what the situation is. We always have to remember that drugs are illegal. And so this isn't creating a new rule. It's setting the expectation that we're all going to follow the law. So if someone's smoking meth, they probably need to go to jail for the night. And I think what's important is that we center on what is the current crisis at hand. The number one cause of death for homeless Utahns is a fatal drug overdose. So we need to make sure that we are creating pathways to recovery at every single step of the way. And so if someone is going to be exited because of their actions, they need to face the consequences of the law. But what the flip side is, and I think what you're alluding to here is, if we don't enforce the law and you allow someone to smoke meth in a shelter where there's families and children, that is a recipe for disaster. And you're actually going to have more people exit the shelter, including those families and children, because they will say, well, the shelter's not a safe place for me to go, so I guess I have to be on the street. So we're going to prioritize and make sure that we keep these shelters safe for everyone involved.
Interesting. Representative Tyler Clancy, thank you for that explanation, and thank you for your time.
Straight ahead, President Trump pitching a $5 million, is it called a gold card, Dave?
Yeah,
a gold
not
card.
A green card, a gold card.
Yeah, a gold card for citizenship. We're going to explain what that's all about next.
Discover the timeless value at Duke's Jewelers, a local treasure since 1948. Whether you're searching for a unique engagement ring or need expert watch repair, Duke's has been serving the community for over 75 years. It's the perfect time to visit and explore the wide selection of custom designs and quality gemstones. The skilled designers at Duke's can bring your dream piece to life, while experienced jewelers handle repairs and modifications in-house. Duke's Jewelers takes pride in value pricing, ensuring you receive the best prices every day. Need an appraisal? The Duke's Jewelers AGS certified gemologist is here to help. Whether it's hand or machine engraving, or redesigning old favorites into something new, get personalized service for every occasion. Visit Duke's Jewelers and experience the difference of locally operated expertise and dedication. Duke's Jewelers in Springfield, Utah.
This is Derek Overstreet of the New Millennium Group and host of Stop Working and Start Living Radio. If you're close to or in retirement and you don't have a tax plan, call us right now, 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370. Listen, our country's been spending like never before, and the tax bill is coming soon. If you need an income tax strategy and a financial plan that will get you through the rest of your life, give my team a call, 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370. If you want an investment plan that allows you to keep more of your gains and pay less taxes, give us a call, 888-999-6370. My team specializes in the type of plan that will get you retired 3 to 5 years sooner than you thought possible. So, get a no-cost tax analysis by calling 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370. My team is standing by now.
Dave, and Dujanovic.
Well, President Trump looking at a new immigration plan, proposing what's called a gold card. When I first heard this, I wasn't sure what to make of it. And then Dave's like, oh, yeah, the Wall Street Journal has written all about it. So we got some details here. $5 million gold card for people to essentially buy citizenship, it sounds like. What do you know about this, Dave?
You explained it exactly right. Like, that is exactly what it is.
This is wild.
You take your $5 million, you push it over to the good old US of A, and they're like, you know what? You now have citizenship here.
Well, the next layer that astounded me even more is this has been going on for quite some time.
Yeah.
We have since the 90s. We just haven't called it a gold card.
Brand new information on so many levels. I just couldn't believe that you could just buy your way into citizenship, because right now, if you're trying to get citizenship, you get a visa, a work visa, travel visa. I mean, there's a million different visas out there. The process takes years. I had a good friend from Korea that I worked with, and she and her family spent years. She's been working here in the news business for years, was trying to get citizenship, eventually did. And I'll never forget, we were down in St. George, we were covering the floods when they got the call that they had received citizenship. And it was such a cool experience. We're celebrating. And now I could have just told her, oh, you just got to cough up $5 million.
So when I first heard you pitch this morning, I thought about people who, I would speak to when I worked at the southern border when I was working in Yuma, Arizona. People that were coming across the border to work on the farms, and then a lot of them just went back home, back across the border at night. That was just, they came into the United States to work in the fields, and then they would return home. And I thought, the $5 million. I mean, I do know that there are, illegal smugglers who are charging people to bring them across
Yes.
Mexico,
Yeah.
across the border. Are they charging them $5 million? That's not this program at
No.
all. That's not this at all. But that's where my mind went. So walk us through what you know about this $5 million gold card.
So President Trump is hoping that this is going to bring in rich foreign investors. And as he's explaining it, it almost starts to make a little bit more sense. Okay, so I did a little research and found out that there are 58 million millionaires in the world. Less than half of them are here in America.
58 million millionaires. Oh.
So there's 33 million millionaires that live outside of the United States. So what he's trying to do is tap into these millionaires and billionaires and try to get them to come to America, invest in America. And if you do so, and that's the caveat, you've got to pay your fee, you got to bring people here, you got to start companies, that you can receive citizenship. So a couple of examples that he used was if you have millionaires, billionaires in places like China or Russia, where there are millions of millionaires, and they want to essentially leave China and invest their money, leave the dictatorship, the authoritarianism of China and of Russia, think perhaps even like the Russian oligarchs that are under President Putin's thumb. They would be able to take their money, come over to America, receive citizenship, and basically either break off with China or break off with Russia and become American citizens, bring their money, bring their companies here where they could integrate with the U.S. economy.
And this is a program that, as we said, has been going on since the 90s, according to the Wall Street Journal. But this gold card would replace what's known as the EB-5 program, which now requires $900K to $1.8 million, depending on I guess where you're going to live or something like that. And there's some standards that are required to be met in order to qualify for that. So I had no idea that this program was floating around since the 90s. Is it, as you're explaining it to me, does it sound unfair to the people who are trying to attain asylum here in the United States, and some of them are finding themselves sent back to their country of origin, that these individuals could skip the line, so to speak, or
if
skip
you have
ahead
enough money?
if you have enough money?
I mean, yes, of course but that's been the case in the past as well, right? This is not just a Trump idea, the EB-5 program.
It's been around a long time.
Yeah, since the 90s. It has huge bipartisan support. This is not just a Republican thing. And the idea is if we have rich investors living, outside of the United States and they want to come live here and they want to participate in the economy, they want to pay their taxes, and they want to bring highly educated and technical folks to work and be American citizens, then that's some great immigration. We want to promote that because obviously for the economy, that's a great boon to the economy. Now, President Trump thinks, can I throw a few numbers at you?
Sure, yeah.
Okay. President Trump thinks there's 1 million people out there that will sign up for the gold cards. So there's millions and millions. There's 35 million millionaires outside of the United States. He thinks 1 million of those are going to pay the $5 million to come get a gold card citizenship here in America. Do some quick math. That is $5 trillion. If you had 1 million people come pay $5 million fee, that would be $5 trillion.
Well, and it's not just people. It looks like Wall Street Journal is saying it could be a company. They use the example of Apple could pay $5 million to secure residency for highly skilled workers.
Yeah, so
I'm looking at this from other countries signing on, somebody from another country signing onto a website and buying a $5 million gold card. I mean, there's probably going to be standards that have to be met, so I don't want to just gloss over that. But this is companies within the United States who could also use this program, according to what I'm seeing here.
Yeah, we already do this in the NBA. in professional leagues. So say there's a basketball player that's playing in Madrid, Spain, and we're like, we want you to come play in the NBA. Well, we may have to pay that team in Madrid, Spain, $5 million to get the rights to that player, for the player to come over play in the NBA. So it would be similar. So if Apple has this unbelievable programmer in China or India or somewhere, and they say, we want to bring you here to America. We want you to bring your family. We're willing to pay that $5 million. That is an investment in you. We want to bring you and your family. We're going to pay the $5 million fee to bring you over and give you American citizenship, or at least this is an expedited pathway to citizenship. So that's the company aspect of it. Some companies may look at it and say, you know what, it's worth it to pay the $5 million fee to bring you over.
So it's the Trump Gold Card. Is that what he wants to call it?
Yeah, it's the Gold Card program. It's not the Green Card.
Oh, it's not
the Green Card's totally different. But this is the Gold Card, and it only costs you $5 million.
Straight ahead, federal fallout. A special half hour as thousands of federal workers started the new year getting fired. So today and tomorrow, we will spend a special half hour each day on what to do now for these federal workers. Today, we're going to dive into government jobless benefits that you may qualify for. We're going to have a live interview starting at about 10:05 this morning on what you may qualify for. And then right after that, how to rewrite your resume to stand out during your job hunt. That's all coming up straight ahead.
KSL Broadcast Group contests are open to participants 18 years of age and older that are residents of Utah, unless otherwise specified. Employees or agents of the station, Bonneville International Corporation, other area radio stations, or any entity associated with the contest may not enter. Persons who have won in the last 30, 60, or 90 days from a station contest or event may not be eligible. Full general contest rules are available at kslnewsradio.com/contests.
Alpine Home Medical, we bring wellness home.
Are you on your feet a lot? When traveling, do you find yourself sitting for long periods of time? Hi, I'm Jay Broadbent with Alpine Home Medical, and we have compression stockings that can help you. Our compression stockings are designed to improve circulation, reduce swelling, and provide unmatched comfort. Come check out all the different styles and fabrics. These aren't your great-grandparents' compression stockings. That's why we're excited to offer an amazing deal. Buy 3 pairs of compression stockings and get a free care kit. That's right, 3 pairs of compression stockings and get a free care kit. Come into any of our 11 locations and invest in your health this winter by embracing the benefits of compression. For more details, visit us at alpinehomemedical.com. That's alpinehomemedical.com.
Alpine Home Medical, we bring wellness home.
Hi, this is Doug Wright, and it's time to start thinking about the great events that are just around the corner in March. And as you consider the opportunities for entertainment, for ball games, for celebration, I want you to remember Ruth's Chris Steakhouse, where you are going to find the best steak you have ever had. But it's not just about steaks. It's about poultry and seafood and the side dishes and the desserts. They're all waiting for you at Ruth's Chris Steakhouse. The perfect time to put together a killer St. Patrick's party? Right, it's Ruth's Chris Steakhouse. And of course, with all of the March madness, Ruth's Chris Steakhouse, when you're enjoying the games, it's time for you to make your reservations or pick up a gift card. And remember, always save room for dessert. Oh, and by the way, maybe you're going to be up skiing. Well, Hotel Park City. There's a Ruth's Chris Steakhouse waiting there for you. And, of course, downtown Salt Lake City at 275 Southwest Temple, it's Ruth's Chris Steakhouse.
Seems everything costs more these days. Gas, groceries, and when's the last time you checked your wireless bill? Yikes. When it comes to big wireless, if you're staying, you may be overpaying. Here's how to get the same fast, reliable nationwide coverage without the big wireless bill. Switch to Consumer Cellular. Plans start at just $20 a month, and that's not a short-term promo. Our U.S.-based experts will get you switched and saving in about 20 minutes. Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com and start saving today. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing.
Tired of hearing scary radio ads about the IRS? Tax Relief Advocates is different.
TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000 or $500,000, we have a solution. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS with zero risk to you. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with a BBB. End your tax nightmare today by visiting TRA.com or call 800-275-1728. That's 800-275-1728.
How does a soccer club born in an unlikely place,
Utah? You sure you want to do that in Utah?
built with players no one else wanted,
We knew no one believed in us.
reach the league's highest heights?
We finally did it. It was like just this feeling of getting to the top of the mountain.
How does that same team find a way to shatter expectations in the midst of a fight for its own survival?
Our club is burning to the ground as we speak.
I'm Amy Donaldson, and in a new podcast, Making of a Moment, the RSL story, we take a closer look at one of those iconic sports moments
Soccer is a crazy game, and we saw it firsthand tonight.
and unravel how knowing the truth of these moments can transform what they mean.
I just kind of got chills right now thinking about it.
Making of a Moment, the RSL story is available now. Follow us at makingamomentpod.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
When I have an asthma attack, I feel scared.
Prevent your child's next asthma attack. Call 1-866-NO-ATTACKS. Visit www.noattacks.org or call your doctor, because even one attack is one too many. Brought to you by the EPA and the Ad Council.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
10 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Andy Farnsworth. KSL's top story this hour. President Trump has just started holding his first cabinet meeting of his second term, and he's allowed TV cameras in to watch.
In just over 1 month, illegal border crossings have plummeted by numbers that nobody's actually ever seen before. It's much more than 100%. And we've unleashed American energy at levels that will soon be reported. But we think we're going to get it going very quickly. We have incredible people on the energy front. I think we have really great people on every front.
Elon Musk is not an official member of the cabinet, but is in attendance and giving a presentation on the efforts by the Doge Group. Using cell phones could soon be against the rules in Utah classrooms after a bill setting a statewide standard passed unanimously through a Utah House committee. The sponsor, Senator Lincoln Fillmore, says his bill is meant to encourage individual school districts to set their own policies.
The policy position, if Senate Bill 178 passes, will be cell phones should not be in school classrooms or should not be used in school classrooms unless school districts decide they should.
The bill is now heading to the full House. The Utah Avalanche Center is making their forecasts accessible on the go. They've launched a new cell phone app to show you the daily forecast based on your location. It will also allow users to submit tips and observations about conditions they see. Your money at this moment, the Dow's up 55 points. That's a little bit less than it was last hour, but it is at 43,676. Coming up, the warm-up starts tomorrow. KSL Weather's next. KSL News Time 10:01.
A reminder about the simplest way to get updated for your day.
Hit your KSL preset when you jump in the car, and we'll take care of the rest.
Hear key news updates and traffic reports.
Andy and Amanda from 5 to 9 in your car.
KSL News Radio at 102.7 FM.
The Management Minute is a service of the MBA program in the John M. Huntsman School of Business at Utah State University. I'm Professor Scott Hammond. Next time somebody says, "I'm absolutely sure," watch what happens. The speaker just claimed all of the right in the room. You can agree or disagree, but you can't modify or clarify. The late Senator Frank Church of Idaho once told me that you will always gain more support if you allow others the privilege of amending your truth. In other words, don't announce truth, build truth together. I'm sure that will work better. At least pretty sure of it. Learn more about persuasive leadership with an MBA from Utah State University. Go to utahstatemba.com for more information. That's utahstatemba.com. I'm Scott Hammond. Hope to see you in one of our classes.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to
slow it down and get it going slower.
Izervay is proven to slow GA progression.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Izervay or avacincaptad pagel is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com.
We're the professional staff at Renaissance Ranch.
We are all recovered drug addicts and alcoholics
enjoying life in recovery. We don't see addicts as bad men trying to be good.
Rather sick men that need to get well.
This is our message to them.
That it doesn't matter how lost, beaten down, or defeated you may feel.
We know you can overcome the darkness as we have.
And now, we're honored to be here for you and to show you the way out.
Our greatest desire for you is to see what we see.
That you are capable of healing.
That you are divine.
Prepare to emerge as the father, husband, and son that you were destined to be.
So to our new brother,
we say, welcome home.
Welcome home.
Welcome home.
Welcome to the Brotherhood of Renaissance Ranch.
Getting help with plumbing repairs is easier than you think. All you have to do is call Any Hour Services or schedule an appointment at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Mountain America's limited time balance transfer bonus. Let's go to the traffic center with Heather Kelly.
We are accident and delay free all across the Wasatch Front. No problems now on I-15 throughout Utah, Salt Lake, or Davis counties in either direction. You also have good speeds trying to get into Park City from I-80 or US 40. The construction zone in Tooele County, that has eased up a bit. You still only have one lane of travel southbound on SR 36, but not as much traffic means not as much of a delay. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather, today's high will be 49 degrees, and then it warms up, 52 tomorrow, and then all the way up to 60 by Sunday. Right now it is 38 degrees and clear in Salt Lake County. I'm Andy Farnsworth from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
Federal fallout. As we've been reporting, thousands of federal workers started the new year and a new administration getting fired. So today and tomorrow, we're going to focus a special half hour each day on what to do now. And today on the agenda is what government jobless benefits you may qualify for. We're going to go in depth with someone from the Department of Workforce Services so you know what you can apply for and what's out there for you. So you can make ends meet, because when you lose a job, oftentimes, especially as suddenly as so many of you lost jobs, you have nowhere to turn. You don't know what to do. And then at about 10:15 or so, we're going to dive into how to rewrite your resume to stand out during your job hunt.
Yeah, that's great information. And as I'm watching right now, President Trump is holding a cabinet meeting, and Elon Musk had just stood up and had spoken to the entire cabinet, and he said these cuts are not optional. They are essential if we're going to cut federal spending. So as we have talked about, these tens of thousands of federal workers that have already created some sort of exit strategy or have been fired, there are still many more cuts to come, and it looks like it could be thousands and thousands of more federal workers.
Well, let's take our conversation away from what is going on at the White House right now. We'll get back to that later on, because I really do want to focus on these federal workers and others who may found themselves without a job this year. And it's a tough spot to be in. And so, Jared Mendenhall, let's start the conversation with you. You're with the Department of Workforce Services, which can help walk people through what benefits they may qualify for. I just think it's such an important conversation that we have. It's an important component of the conversation that we, quite frankly, haven't had yet on this show. So let's start with you. And I want to step away for a minute from what the current job market looks like, because I really think it's important that families are being able to make ends meet right now. So what benefits are out there through workforce services that people may qualify for now that they're out of a job?
Good morning, Debbie. A loss of a job, a layoff like this can be really unsettling and very stressful, and you are going to feel overwhelmed. But the Department of Workforce Services has resources that can help you. If you are a federal worker and you were laid off, so you lost that job at no fault of your own, you do qualify. The first thing you want to look into is you do qualify for that unemployment insurance claim. And that will provide a safety net while you look for a new job. So once you stop working, the first thing you want to do is file for that unemployment insurance right away. You do that at jobs.utah.gov. There is a waiting week. And sometimes for federal workers, that waiting period can be a little bit longer while we just verify income and that benefit, that claim on the unemployment insurance is going to provide you with a percentage of that income to sort of help you navigate that job search. That's the first thing you want to do.
Does it go off everyone's individual job? So if you have somebody that was making $100,000, another person was making $50,000, does that percentage of unemployment insurance, does it, treat those two differently?
It does. We do take a look at what your earnings were for the past year. There is a cap, so you can only claim so much for that unemployment insurance benefit, and then it'll be based on what your earnings were.
Jared, I want to just touch on this for just a moment, and maybe you know the answer. If you don't, that's okay. But I have seen on social media posts that several former now federal workers received notification that the reason that they were let go is because of poor job performance, but it was all part of this sweeping cut that's been happening over the last couple of weeks. So will that letter, if they did receive a letter like that, or if anybody receives a letter like that, would that impact whether they qualify for unemployment insurance and benefits?
So we are getting into kind of a gray area there.
Okay.
The thing that I would encourage everybody to do is go and file for that claim, and we'll kind of figure that out on the back end, whether you qualify or whether you're eligible for that unemployment insurance claim. For the most part, these are being looked at as, a lot of these were like probationary employees that were laid off, and so that's going to be treated as a traditional layoff.
Okay.
Now, you say they typically will receive a percentage, just so folks have a general idea of what percentage they're looking at. What does unemployment insurance typically cover?
And again, this is going to be based on how much you were earning, but it'll be about 40 to 50% of what you were making. But again, if you were a very high earner, so you're making $120,000, it'll cap out, and that'll be it won't quite reach that 50% level.
We're speaking live right now to Jared Mendenhall. He's with the Department of Workforce Services here in the state of Utah. An important conversation that we're having about jobless benefits. We know a lot of federal workers have been fired, maybe fearful that they're going to be let go. And so now is the time to have that conversation and get prepared. But if somebody decided to quit, Jared, maybe I know there's people who are saying that they're just under so much stress and they're so worried and then they may quit. I don't know how many people have actually done that, but if they quit, that does not qualify for them for unemployment. Am I correct in my thinking?
That's right. However, that doesn't mean that the Department of Workforce Services can't help you. Just because you don't qualify for that unemployment insurance benefit doesn't mean that the other resources that are available through the department aren't available to you. So, we're working to just strengthen those communities and build those opportunities in the labor force. So some of the other benefits that you may qualify for, of course, any of our career counseling. We have ability to help you with job searches. There's resume assistance. There's interview prep. You can get one-on-one Counseling was one of our employment counselors at one of the 30 employment centers across the state, and then a bunch of online tools, online resources to just kind of help you go through that process. So if you haven't looked for a job in a while, you're going to be a little rusty. You need to dust off that resume. You need to kind of take a look at what your network is. A lot of jobs are found through networking, and then you got to prep for those job interviews. And we have resources that can help you do all of that. In addition, we have a bunch of labor market information that's available to just kind of help you see what kind of jobs are paying what kind of money, where the job growth is in the state. There's veteran resources, and then for a handful of people, they're going to actually qualify for training and education resources. And of course, information on all of this is available right there at jobs.utah.gov. So yeah, even if you don't qualify for that unemployment insurance benefit, there's still a load of resources to help you with a job search and help you get back into work.
How long do unemployment benefits typically last?
Typically 26 weeks.
20. Okay. So
now again, you're only making a percentage, so it's a tough 26 weeks, but you can qualify for up to 26 weeks.
And then, Jared, let's get back to that question that I set aside. What does the current job market look like in Utah?
Right. So the good news for some of those people that are being laid off is that the Utah economy is really strong. We ended the year with really good numbers. We had about 2.6% job growth. That's about 45,000 new jobs over the year. And then our unemployment rate is in the low threes. And it isn't that really, really tight labor market that we saw coming out of the pandemic, but this is still a really good unemployment number. These would be the typical numbers that we would have seen in a good economy from 2017 or 2018. So there's still plenty of job growth. There's demand for workers. So it's a good place to be in Utah right now if you are looking for a job.
We did see with some of these federal workers that were fired, they were given some sort of severance, in some cases 6 months worth of severance. If you receive severance, does that disqualify you from any unemployment benefits?
Right. So if there was a severance package that was paid, that would go into your income, and so you'd basically be prorated that income before you could qualify for that unemployment insurance benefit. Now, if you quit to receive that severance package, then you did quit, and it wasn't a loss of a job at no fault of your own, so then you wouldn't qualify for unemployment insurance.
Jared, before we let you go, where can our listeners search job openings in the state of Utah? And I guess this would be for either public sector openings or within the state or the cities or within the private sector.
Let's talk about two things that are available. The first thing is that at jobs.utah.gov, we have about 25,000 jobs that are right there on that website. If you set up an account, we'll do our best to just match you up with which jobs look like they would be the best fit for your resume, for your qualifications. And then the second thing is we actually have a virtual job fair that's coming up on March 6th. This is a job fair that you can do right at your home. There'll be more than 30 employers there. These employers are looking to hire people right away. You'll get face-to-face time with these employers. And it's a great way to kick off that job hunt. You can find a link to register for that virtual job fair at jobs.utah.gov, and that'd be a great resource. And then, of course, I encourage you to just come and take advantage of the resources that are available to help you through that job hunt at jobs.utah.gov.
And what day is that virtual job fair?
The virtual job fair is March 6th.
March 6th. Well, outstanding. Thank you for joining us. Jared Mendenhall is with the Department of Workforce Services.
Yeah, lots of great information there. Let's flip the phone line over to Julie Bakke. She's Julie on the job. She's president and career strategist with the Bakke Group. Julie, if I recall, you've been on the show quite a few times. Good morning. And you are former HR, right? You're former HR director? Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about how to make a resume stand out. Jared Mendenhall with the Department of Workforce Services here in Utah just said, a lot of people might be rusty at their resume. It's time to dust it off now. So in an era of AI where people's resumes might not even be looked at by human eyes out of the gates. What do you suggest we do to start making our resumes stand out?
So most people approach their resume as if I'm going to tell you everything I did, and then I'm going to cast a wide net and hope someone catches me. But your resume needs to be a focused document that tells your story. And what I mean by that is what your experience is, but also what do you want to do next? And a lot of people start with this process thinking, okay, the first thing I have to do is write my resume. And we strongly disagree with that. The first thing you need to do is figure out, what do you want to do next? Do you want to do more of the same, or do you want to try something different? And based on that, your resume should be looked at as a marketing document instead of, a dossier on everything you've ever done. And so the work up front of figuring out, now that I'm in this situation where I have to make a change, what is it that I want? It can be an opportunity. And so get super clear on what you're offering to your next employer and write your resume based on what you've done in the past, but also it should be clear to anyone reading your resume what you're looking to do next. This is counterintuitive, but people who are like, I'll do anything, or they come across as, I'll do anything, I'm desperate. If there's anything that sniffs like that, employers don't want to hire desperate. They want to make a good hire. And so they're not looking for someone who can fog a mirror. They're looking for someone who's qualified and interested to do the job they have at hand. So from your perspective, being as specific as possible about what you want to do is very, very important.
Julie, I'm going to be honest, it's been a few years. I've been with KSL for 20 years, so I haven't filled out a resume for quite some time. Have things changed, or what a resume is supposed to look like? Because, the conventional cover letter and the resume, I'm not exactly sure what employers are looking for now.
So one of the biggest, and I am just, the job board world is a mess. There are scams, there are fake jobs, and so if your entire job search process is, I'm going to throw my resume out there and apply to 300 jobs, you're going to be sorely disappointed, because the chances of your resume actually being seen by someone are very low, because organizations have these systems set up where they're looking for certain keywords in your resume. And so you need to make sure that when you apply for a job, you read the job description and you make sure that your resume well positions you for that job. It increases your chances of being seen, of being bumped to the top, but at the same time, networking and getting jobs through people you know or people you meet through the process is the very best way to get a job. And so connecting with people who know who you are, who know what you've done, who think highly of you, and let them help introduce you to other people who might be interested in you is still how 2/3 or more of people get their jobs, even in this day of job boards. And so your resume needs to accurately reflect what you've done, what your experiences, what your accomplishments are, and what you want to do next. But don't get stuck on the job boards or in just simply applying online to companies, because it is an exercise in frustration, as anybody who's been through job search will tell you.
Well, you had said, you just a moment ago that you meet people, most commonly people are going to get a job through somebody they know or they meet. So I'm curious about, for example, the Department of Workforce Services was just on the air with us, as you heard, saying there's a job fair coming up at the beginning of March where you can go online as an applicant and meet face-to-face with employers who are looking to hire now. I was thinking, well, that sounds like a marvelous opportunity to come face-to-face and get your foot in the door or your face in front of somebody. What do you think about those types of opportunities, career fairs and job fairs?
Well, I was listening in for about the last 5 minutes of what he was saying, and so many wonderful resources. So think of a job fair and think of yourself right now. If you've lost your job or you think you're going to lose your job, you think it's a possibility. This first step is become educated about what's out there. What are people looking for? as Dave said, you're probably out of practice. And so even the terminology that you used to use to describe what you do may have changed. And so job fairs are great ways to start educating yourself by talking to people. What do you look for? What do you guys do? Is my background a fit? Do I want to work in an organization like yours? And so this is really your education opportunity, and you may connect with a great resource, and you may not. And let's also hold space for the possibility that you may get a job that is for you on a scale of 1 to 10, maybe a 5 or a 6, and you do that for a couple of years while you figure out your next move. I mean, I'm not saying just take a job, any old job, but sometimes that's where people are financially. And so you do want to go do a good job, et cetera. But remember, we live our career in chapters, just like we do our lives. And so whatever you do next doesn't necessarily have to be your final chapter. But what you want to do is you want to make sure that whatever you do next, that it's something that you can do well. Because the worst thing you can do after coming out of a layoff, when you're already feeling maybe like you're feeling your self-esteem's taking a hit, is to take a job that you're not going to show up well for and that you're not going to perform well, because all that's going to do is really give your confidence another hit. And so, but take this opportunity, go to job fairs, go online, let their employment counselors help you, let them match you up, take a look at what the world is demanding, and just go through this exploratory phase. You don't have to live there for months, but start in an exploratory phase to see what does kind of float your boat and go from there, because this isn't just about getting a job, although I get it. It's really about getting a job in which you'll be happy and fulfilled.
Well, this is some great advice. Thank you so much for joining us, Julie Balke. Julie on the job, online, president and career strategist with the Balke Group.
She said you live your life, but you also live your career in chapters, and that struck me. You live it in chapters. This isn't the end of the book. You're just opening up a new chapter in your life. And there's so many different avenues. And then the idea of figure out if you want to keep doing the same thing or if you want to explore something new. It feels hopeful. I don't know. I'm not a federal worker who just got an email telling me I'm no longer employed. But for me, that feels like, you can really use this as writing the next chapter in your professional journey.
In a time where you can feel completely overwhelmed, I love how she described that, where your self-esteem may have taken a hit. You're not feeling great about yourself. There are people out there that are trained, that are experts. They can help you manage this. You're not alone. And there's some great resources.
And tomorrow we're back with more at 10 a.m., another special half hour of the federal fallout, like what to do if your house payment's coming up and you're no longer getting a paycheck. We're going to talk about that tomorrow during the Dave and Dujanovic Show in the 10 o'clock hour.
Jeff Kaplan.
When I was a kid, my parents got me a subscription to Newsweek magazine. I would devour every page into the night. And to this day, I sit on my iPad looking for stories for my minute of news, flesh out our coverage, and I get to share the news with you.
Jeff Kaplan's Afternoon News, 3 to 7 on KSL News Radio.
Let me tell you about Master Electrical Service. This is a company that's been around since the 50s. You've known them. You've seen their vans driving around. Well, they've joined forces. Very exciting news. They've joined forces with Mountain Home Services.
And now the list of things that you can get done by just calling them is incredible. I mean, you think about it. You need those outlets replaced. You need new lighting. You need new switches. Maybe you need, like a new EV charger. Your HVAC worked on. I mean, and now fireplaces. So it's great one-stop shopping.
I learned something about myself, Debbie.
Oh.
I need dimmers. I need light dimmers in my life.
I have those and I love them.
I love dimmers.
Yeah.
I don't have enough dimmers. But yeah, with Mountain Home Services, you mentioned all those great things, HVAC, heating and air, plumbing. It is one-stop shopping. If your home needs something, go ahead and reach out to Mountain Home Services.
Yeah, it's super easy to get a hold of them. They'd love to hear from you. You can either look them up online or you can give them a call.
Yeah, 801-543-2222 is the number, 801-543-2222.
Or online at mountainhomeservices.com.
Did you know 96% of Americans lose an average of $111,000 in Social Security income? And it's because they claim their benefits at the wrong time. Don't lose $111,000 in Social Security income. that's rightfully yours. Learn how you could wring every nickel out of your benefits on Retirement Solutions Radio this Saturday afternoon at 3 o'clock, right here on KSL, News Radio 1027.
Your little one deserves a big welcome. From before the baby bump to baby in your arms, Common Spirit Health OBGYN physicians and certified nurse midwives are here for the labor, the love, and every moment in between. We specialize in prenatal, pregnancy, childbirth, and postpartum care to help you navigate this journey with confidence and joy. So when the big moment arrives, you can welcome baby with the warmest hello of all. Hello, human kindness. mountain.commonspirit.org.
Seems everything costs more these days. Gas, groceries, and when's the last time you checked your wireless bill? Yikes. When it comes to big wireless, if you're staying, you may be overpaying. Here's how to get the same fast, reliable nationwide coverage without the big wireless bill. Switch to Consumer Cellular. Plans start at just $20 a month, and that's not a short-term promo. Our US-based experts will get you switched and saving in about 20 minutes. Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com and start saving today. Plans include $5 credit for autopay and e-billing.
Confidence is knowing you're ready to handle whatever comes your way. That's what it feels like to take on your workday with Cintas. They make sure your AEDs are up to date, your fire extinguishers are tested and inspected, your floor mats are cleaned and delivered, and your workwear looks good, feels good, and is freshly laundered with a Cintas Apparel Plus program. So are you ready to take on today? Visit Cintas.com and get ready for the workday.
On the surface, it seemed like just another Cinderella story.
A team that was predicted to finish dead last is now waiting to play the first round of the playoffs.
But Real Salt Lake's 2021 playoff run was so much more than what happened on the pitch.
Our club is burning to the ground.
This is the tip of the iceberg. Making of a Moment, the RSL story, is available now. I just kind of got chills right now thinking about it. Follow us at makingamomentpod.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
10:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Andy Farnsworth. KSL's top story this hour. People who've had felony convictions could soon be eligible to serve on a jury in Utah. This bill in the legislature substitutes a previous bill that allowed felons to vote and to run for political office 10 years after, but does not allow them to be on a jury. Assistant State Court Administrator Michael Drexel says they want a true cross-section of the population.
And so for people who are interested in being involved in civic life, they can go through the process and do their part, and then they can do their share of the work in terms of doing jury duty, and that would be beneficial, I think, for everybody.
This new bill would allow anyone whose felony had been reduced to a misdemeanor or expunged to serve on a jury. The bill has passed through the House and Senate. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. President Trump is in the middle of his first cabinet meeting of his second term right now. He's allowed news crews in, and reporters asked Elon Musk about his email to federal employees, asking them to respond with a list of things they were working on.
Our goal is not to be capricious or unfair. We want to give people every opportunity to send an email. And the email could simply be, what I'm working on is too sensitive or classified to describe. I think this is just common sense.
Musk says he mostly wants to know the employees are actually there and working. The Alpine School Board has approved the name of the state's newest middle school. Sage Canyon Middle School will be ready for students in August in Eagle Mountain. Your money at this moment, the Dow is up 85 points, 0.2% to 43,705. Coming up, a nice warm-up. KSL weather's next. KSL News Time, 10:31. The sources where we get our news matters.
When you listen to Utah's Morning News, we want you to feel the stories are important to you and trustworthy. This is Amanda Dixon.
And I'm Andy Farnsworth. Join us weekday mornings on KSL News Radio.
Because life can sometimes be messy, we've got you covered. WeatherTech is the ultimate way to protect your ride. From bump step to cargo liners to seat protectors. Along with floor liners that protect the front, back, and even up the sides. All to help keep those memories from being spoiled. WeatherTech. Complete protection. Completely American-made.
At Jordan Camper, we specialize in protection and safety features for your truck, such as bumper and grill guards, wheel well liners and fender flares, tonneau covers and shells, folding and retractable truck bed covers, running boards and sidebars, truck bed storage systems, and Line X spray-in bed liner. Jordan Camper has your truck accessories at 7000 South State in Midvale. Come on in or give us a call, 801-255-1512. Our experienced staff can answer your questions and install it for you. Information at jordancamper.com.
Traffic and weather together every 10 minutes on the 9s in the morning. It's every half an hour here in the middle of the day. It's brought to you by Mountain America's limited time balance transfer bonus. Here's Heather Kelly.
Things looking great right now. Across the Wasatch Front, no accidents reported on city streets or major freeways. You do have a little bit of slowdowns in some of the construction areas. You're going to know those are Bangerter Highway through the Taylorsville, West Valley area, as well as SR 36 by Stansbury Park. Other than that, you're really not going to have any issues right now. We want to keep it that way. That means playing nice with each other on the roadways. Looking for Saturday morning fun with your kids? Try Utah Symphony's family concerts at Abravanel Hall. Kids' tickets start at $6. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather, we should get up to 49 degrees today, and then it just gets warmer through the weekend, even reaching as high as 60 degrees by Sunday. Right now, it is fair and 40 degrees in Salt Lake City. It's 41 degrees in Provo and 39 degrees in Ogden. I'm Andy Farnsworth from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
Let's talk about some housing. If you are ever interested in learning your home's true value, it only takes about 30 seconds. Just visit thesternteam.com.
Priced Out Housing. Special coverage with Dave and Dujanovic.
Actually, really looking forward to talking to Russell Fawcett of the Stern team in just a moment about this. I caught this video the other night on TikTok, Dave, and it seems like there's a new rule that's going to take effect that I think is a game changer for first-time home buyers who are struggling to come up with income qualifications to be able to buy that first home. And we're going to explain what this new rule is with the help of Russell Fawcett in just a moment, like what you need to do to actually present the information that you need to present when you're signing on that mortgage loan. But here's just a part of the video that I watched on TikTok that made me go, I think this is a game changer too.
Yeah, this is a game changer for people trying to buy a house. FHA has now updated its rules to where they're really trying to help people buy houses now, which they should, because it's almost impossible for people to afford a decent house. This is what they're doing. I'll give you an example. It's called, they're allowing border income. So let me give you an example of what this means. Let's say you got a buddy.
Okay, so it's called Border Income, and that's on Home Loan Heroes TikTok page that I saw that. And we're going to get more on what border income is and what the paperwork, what you need to prove to be able to use this as part of your income in order to qualify for a home under an FHA loan. But what he was starting to say, Dave, was let's say you and a buddy are in a home together and you decide to buy one. And my understanding is you can now use your buddy's rent to qualify for the home that you want to buy. But there's more to it than that.
It kind of counts as your income.
Yes.
Right? So there's a couple different things. Let's say me and my buddy, we're living the bachelor life, but we want to buy a townhome, 2-bedroom townhome. Well, we can actually go in and purchase it together. That's one of the options where you can have dual ownership. This is different. This is where I go in, for my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, Deb, where I go in, I say, I want to buy this townhome, but my buddy's going to come with me, and he's going to pay me, let's say, $1,000 a month. Mm-hmm. Well, as I'm trying to qualify for this loan, it sounds like I can basically increase my yearly income by $12,000 because he's going to pay me $1,000 a month.
Which may be the game changer to get you into the home. Russell Fawcett, owner of the Stern team of Omada Real Estate, on the line with us right now. Walk us through your understanding of this FHA rule, Russell, and how it'll play out in a scenario where somebody's trying to get into, buy a home for the first time?
Yeah. So on this, honestly, so here's my opinion: is it's a good gesture, but the fine print in this makes it pretty difficult, or at least a scenario that we don't see that often. So kind of in order to be able to include what they're calling the border income, so the rent from, the buddy that you want to have live with you, you actually have to have a history. So they look back over the last 12 months, and you have to have been collecting rent for at least 9 of the last 12 months. And if you only have 9 months, they actually average that out over 12 months. So which means most people that are using FHA loans are first-time home buyers. So that means in order to do this, you would need to have a lease, you need to rent from someone, and your buddy would need to live with you and be paying you for at least a year. So your landlord would have to allow you to sublease to your buddy, collect that rent for a year, and then you could go apply for the loan. So in theory, I think it is something that definitely could help. I just don't kind of that big hurdle is you have to have been collecting rent, and it has to show up in your bank statements, or you have to claim it on your tax returns. You have to show that you've been collecting that rent for a year from a buddy before you can use that as income to buy the home. And I just don't see that situation a lot.
So it's not enough that you and the buddy are living in the same place and he's been paying the landlord for the last year. Pulling that kind of information is not enough. He's got to be subleasing it from you and paying you directly.
Correct.
Oh yeah, that does sound very specific.
Well, here's where I think this plays in, Russell. What do you think about this? If I am leasing a home to 2 people, and I do want to see them get ahead, or one of them, whatever, maybe one of them is my kid or a family member, and I'm leasing a home to them, they can have a buddy move in, and I'm fine with that, and then they collect the buddy's lease amount, and then they pay it to me. So I do. Am I way off base on that? I mean, if I do have a home to lease out, but I think about people who are living in a home right now, are thinking about renting it out because they're going to move to another state potentially, or maybe they've got job obligations or church obligations that they're going to fulfill, a volunteer opportunity in another state. We have a lot of people that are my age and older going on missions for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I don't know how that plays out for them individually, but I'm like, if they're going to rent out their home anyway, I mean, and they don't want to have to gift their children money for a down payment, I think for a year they allow this in a way that they set it up so their child can collect the lease amount from their buddy, and then rent gets paid to mom and dad, if you will. Is that a scenario that would work?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there are definitely scenarios that will work, and it's going to take a year's worth of planning for someone that wants to use this, and then they will have to figure out the situation with a landlord that will cooperate with them. And then, there's always the zoning rules that there are places where, parts of Salt Lake that you can't have more than 3 unrelated individuals. So it's renting to one specific person. So I do think that if someone was like, I want to do this, they can start planning. Typically, one of the biggest reasons people go buy their first home, one of the reasons is they're getting married. So we don't see currently a lot of single people buying, first-time home buyers. The average age of the first-time home buyer is 38. And so when I look at everything, I think this is 100% a strategy if people are considering buying a home and could want to qualify for a little bit more home, that this is a strategy that they could plan and execute. But is moving the needle forward on affordability across the board for home buyers, this is such a small sliver of people. So again, it's a great strategy. I don't think it's enough to move the needle forward on affordability across the board for first-time home buyers.
Oh, that's really interesting. Russell, thank you for joining us. Russell Fawcett, owner of the Stern team of Omada Real Estate. And to his point, Debbie, if you were charging your buddy $1,000 a month, then that's just $12,000 more to your income, right?
Mm-hmm.
That might make a little bit of a difference of whether or not you qualify, but that may not just change the difference between buying a home and not buying a home.
Thanks so much, Russell. Always appreciate you and our friends at the Stern team for your support and walking us through new rules, rental issues, housing issues, all things. And we're going to continue to talk about housing. In fact, we're learning that Salt Lake City's housing market, the price swings, sometimes you don't want to buy. You hear people, Dave, that don't want to buy a home because they're worried the market's going to go up or it's going to go down, and they don't have the stomach for it because they feel like they're going to get dizzy and they're going to lose money. Well, we're going to dive into that next.
If you're ready to buy a home or sell a home and you're worried about the current real estate market because of what you've heard from some of your friends or family, well, we're here to tell you that you really shouldn't be worried, because now is a great time to buy and sell with our friends at the Stern team, powered by Omada Real Estate.
And here's why. Buyers have more options due to increased inventory, which gives them the power to negotiate for repairs, interest rate buy-downs, and closing cost assistance. While at the same time, sellers are still getting top dollar for their homes, with home values that are higher today than ever before. So whether you're looking to buy or sell, the current real estate market presents a win-win opportunity for both buyers and sellers.
But you still do want to make sure that you're working with a team of real estate experts you can trust that can get you some great results. And that's our friends at the Stern team, powered by Omada Real Estate.
They have helped thousands of Salt Lake City homeowners, and they're ready to help you. To get started, just go to thesternteam.com. That's thesternteam.com, or Google The Stern Team.
Join KSL on the movie show this Friday from 10 to 1 at Fat Cats. That's in Bluffdale, 139th South in Redwood Road, fatcatsfun.com.
Jeff Kaplan.
I'm energized by breaking news. First of all, because it's right now, and second of all, because in many cases the audience needs to know. There's no more important service that we can provide, and I find it critically important to get more details to the audience as quickly as possible. There's nothing more energizing than that for me. Not at all. The most important thing we do is breaking news. I am gratified that so many people listen to me every afternoon on KSL, but what they don't know is that there are so many people behind the scenes making it happen, checking on the traffic, answering the phones, making the calls, talking to the newsmakers. They're out in the street, into the field to get the raw information, and then putting it all together so that I can sit in front of a microphone and be a source of information every afternoon. But there are so many people who make it happen. That's what you don't know.
Ride Home with Jeff Kaplan, weekdays 3 to 7 on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic. Priced out. Housing. Special coverage with Dave and Dujanovic.
Well, so often we hear from people, hey, I don't want to get into the housing market because I'm worried it's going to take a dive. Or, oh my gosh, I got into the housing market, about my first home, and suddenly the bottom dropped out and it's down $50,000. Have you ever had an experience like that, Dave?
I haven't,
had a
but
few.
I have some good friends where that is absolutely happened right at the heart of the housing boom, where everyone is making 50 different offers and you're just scratching and clawing trying to get into a home. And then sure enough, about 6 months later, it dropped $50,000 in value.
Well, there was a belief for decades that housing prices only go up, right? That just was kind of the common theory, is that, buy real estate because that is the one thing you can count on will increase in value. And then the downturn of the market happened in 2007, 2008, and some would say maybe even started before then, when there was just a lot of fraud happening with home loans. They were qualifying people who didn't qualify. Some of them didn't really have jobs, and so they couldn't make the payment. Foreclosures, short sales. The housing landscape became peppered with both. And for many of us, our housing values absolutely tanked. I mean, weren't anywhere near what we paid for them, even if we'd bought them years earlier. So it took a long time to crawl out of that hole. Well, now we've seen housing prices soar, right? Now it feels like we're on the opposite end of that, where housing prices are, out of reach for so many Utah families. But I want to put this in perspective, because I saw this article in the Deseret News. When it comes to housing swings, so if you're afraid to jump in the market because you're fearful that the market might suffer a downturn and you don't want to see your value drop, Utah is ranked 13th most stable housing market among the major U.S. metropolitan areas. 13th most stable in the entire nation. I think that's a very positive sign, and you should maybe set aside some of that anxiety you might be feeling if you're afraid to jump in.
And that's got to be a big sigh of relief to know that even though we've seen housing double and in some places triple in the last 5 to 7 years, that you're not going to see that big drop. Because it's one thing if the market's correcting itself, that we had been selling homes for way too cheap. And now that the market's kind of caught up and stabilized a little bit, our biggest fear is that not that we're going to lose $5,000 or $10,000 in home value, right? I mean, everything kind of ebbs and flows within, a few thousand, even $10,000, $20,000. What we're terrified of is if we lose $100,000. Mm-hmm. If we lose $200,000. And back in 2007, 8, 9, that's what we were seeing. We were seeing homes that were losing 40% of their value.
Yeah, and they were going underwater in their mortgages.
Yeah.
And so there was a sense of panic for a lot of people. They were in homes that they were upside down in.
Yeah.
And that also was a very unusual scenario. Like we've become used to home values going up a little bit each year, but then all of a sudden the bottom drops out and we just see these waves of mortgages that are underwater. But let me put this into even deeper perspective. According to this Deseret News article, Dave, there is about not quite a 21% chance of you experiencing a 5% drop in the value after you purchase your home. A 5% drop, which you said you could probably stomach, because I'm thinking a 5% drop on, well, maybe that's a little bit more than you can stomach. On a $500,000 home would be a $25,000 drop. Look, when I look back on 2008, that doesn't feel like much. Because as you said,
you'd have been celebrating $25,000.
People were losing $50,000, $100,000, $200,000 and more. And then I want to go into even greater perspective. That's in Salt Lake City. So if you happen to live in Las Vegas, it's more than double that. Even in Phoenix market, it's more than double that. There would be a 48 and a 47% respectively drop in chance of your price dropping 5% in those markets. So Salt Lake has shaped up to be a pretty stable market when it comes to housing swings. And we like to see that because we, as you said, we don't want to get into homes and have the bottom fall out. We also don't want people, look, I'm acting like a real estate agent here. I don't want you to hold back because you're afraid of that. Because it's more likely that your home is going to increase in value as I look at the numbers. If you look at the data from 2000, so 25 years ago to now, the largest percentage price drop was I'm going to put it almost 28%. If you flip that around and you look at increase, it's increased 215%. So the swing is in the favor of the homeowner, right? You haven't kept losing. You haven't lost 215%. The prices have increased 215%. That's the largest increase. So the odds are of a price increase are much higher than a price decrease.
And I think one of the things I remind myself constantly is my home is not the stock market, right? I can't look at it day to day and see the ebbs and flows. I've got to be in it for the long haul. And if we only invested in the stock market when it had drops, then we would invest half a dozen times over the last 10 years, right? Over the last 20 years, we've seen significant drops. So the best practice is to just be in it for the long haul, right? Because it may drop 1 year or drop over a couple years, but over the long term of owning a home, if you're looking at it in a 2 and 3 year investment, that's totally different than if you look at it as a 20-year investment.
So I bought my second home here in Salt Lake City back in the mid-'90s, and I was unfamiliar with price drops. Totally. Because, again, I was operating under this well-known theory. It's called your home will always increase in value, never decrease in value. And I opened up the assessment. You know how you get a note from the assessor's office or the letter from the assessor's office telling you what your home value is. And it had dropped a lot. And that was my first experience with a price drop. And I kind of did panic.
And the panic sets in.
Yeah. Well, and this is on the days before the internet too, right? You can just get on and go to Zillow and see what, the Zestimate was for your home in the moment. It literally was like out of the blue. I was like, we bought a lemon. It just turned out it was part of the ebb and flow of the housing market. But that was my first real wake-up call that things can go backward on you. Now, we more than made up for that. We were in that home almost 12 years, and it increased in value. We made improvements to it as well that improved the value even more. So we came out of that home A-okay. But I remember sitting at the kitchen table. I could see myself there, my much younger self there, 30 years ago. What was I, 27 years old, 28 years? I don't even know. It was a long time ago. Looking at that notice going, oh my gosh.
What did I do?
We're going under.
What did we do?
We are going under. Okay. Well, there you go. That is the housing swing, the ebb and flow of the housing market as we continue to take a deep dive into what's going on in the Wasatch Front and beyond with Utah's housing market. Straight ahead, we're going to look into this program that was proposed on Utah's Capitol Hill that has to do with housing and investors. And something has been tabled regarding this legislation, Dave, and it had to do with investors not being allowed to make an offer on your property if you put it on the market for 30 days. Let's talk about that next.
If you've ever experienced running out of hot water before your shower was done or hard water spots on dishes and fixtures, I've got a deal you might be interested in. What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and you probably already know that a tankless water heater and a water softener solve both issues. If you've ever thought about looking into getting a tankless water heater, here's the deal I was talking about. Through the end of February, we're including a free water softener with every new tankless water heater we install. The best part of this deal might be that you never have to worry about being the last one to the shower again, or that you don't have to waste the money keeping 40 to 50 gallons of water hot 24/7. To take advantage of this deal, call Any Hour Services before the end of February. The visit's free and there's no obligation to buy. If you decide to have us install a new tankless water heater, we'll throw in the water softener for free. That's right, a free water softener when you purchase a tankless water heater. Pick up the phone and call Any Hour Services right now for all the details. 801-443-7400. You can Google Any Hour Services. You can even schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Is your financial advisor offering you up to a 30% upfront bonus? Are they promising you up to 10% growth per year guaranteed for your retirement income? If not, you need a new financial advisor. I'm Jeff Jr., founder of Trajan Wealth. If you plan to retire within the next 10 years, don't wait only to find out it's too late. I've seen hard-working folks like you retire only to be required to go back to work, all because their advisor told them guarantees like these were too good to be true. They're not. That's up to $30,000 up front or up to $10,000 per year on $100,000, all guaranteed for retirement income. Don't work when you're supposed to be retired. And if any financial advisor tells you it's too good to be true, they simply don't have the options we do. Call Trajan today at 801-899-7600.
Annuity guarantees are based on the claims paying ability of the issuing insurance company.
Things are just better when you switch to Cricket. The sun shines a little brighter. Happy music starts randomly playing. Best of all, you can get iPhone 13 for just $29.99. With the ultra-bright Super Retina display and up to 19 hours of video playback, all on Cricket's super-fast 5G network. See? Isn't that better? Smile, you're on Cricket.
Requires new account and port in on $60 plan. First service charge and tax to with sale. $25 activation fee. Terms and restrictions apply. Cricket 5G is not available everywhere. See store for details.
If you love to travel, Capital One has a rewards credit card that's perfect for you. With the Capital One Venture X card, you earn unlimited double miles on everything you buy. Plus, you get premium benefits at a collection of luxury hotels when you book on Capital One Travel. And with Venture X, you get access to over 1,000 airport lounges worldwide. Open up a world of travel possibilities with the Capital One Venture X card. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. Lounge access is subject to change. See CapitalOne.com for details.
I'm Dave Cawley, investigative journalist and host of the podcast Cold. In October of 1985, a woman named Cherie Warren left work at a busy Salt Lake City office
to meet her estranged husband at a downtown auto dealership.
She never made it home. Cherie's car surfaced weeks later in Las Vegas.
In the parking lot of a hotel casino.
No one knows how it got there.
Strange. It was strange.
Both Cherie's estranged husband and her boyfriend raised suspicion for investigators.
I kind of thought that he might have done something.
But no arrests were ever made. In Cold Season 3, we dig into double lives, make new connections in the case, and examine the difficulty raised by reasonable doubt.
We want answers just as much as anyone else.
They have creeps like that now too, so nothing's changed.
That's the new Cold Season 3, The Search for Cherie. Now available anywhere you get your podcasts.
Dave and Dujanovic.
What our listeners need to know is what's going on behind the scenes. We hold weekly meetings on how to do our jobs as talk show hosts, as journalists, better than we did them yesterday.
There's some very conservative voices. There's some very liberal voices. But there is space for both. And we're not at each other's throats. We're not yelling at each other. We're having a discussion.
Listen for Dave and Dujanovic 9 to noon on KSL News Radio.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
11 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Becky Bruce. KSL's top story this hour. The Great Salt Lake's about to get thousands of acre-feet of runoff water courtesy of a controlled release from Utah Lake. The Central Utah Water Conservancy District is opening up the control gates at Utah Lake to do that. It is the third time in the last 10 years Utah Lake water has been sent to the Great Salt Lake. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Elon Musk is defending federal cuts made by his Department of Government Efficiency, speaking today at President Trump's first cabinet meeting since being sworn in.
And taking a lot of flack and getting a lot of death threats, by the way. I mean, I like to stack them up, But if we don't do this, America will go bankrupt.
We know there's a buzz under that audio, so just in case it wasn't clear what he said he has been getting death threats over those cuts, but feels that they are absolutely necessary. Your money at this moment, the Dow is down 125 points at this hour. The Alpine School Board has just approved the name of the state's newest middle school, Sage Canyon Middle School. Will be ready for students in August in Eagle Mountain. Coming up, it feels a lot more like spring than winter. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 11:01.
Mornings are for recharging.
And they're for starting your day right.
We volunteer to join you in the car. Get news and weather at 102.7 FM during the most important part of your day.
Andy and Amanda, each morning between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
The doctors told me I'd never move or do anything again.
A car crash in her 20s could not crush her tenacious spirit.
I don't want to be average. Average is close to the bottom, it is to the top.
Becky has lived 62 years as a quadriplegic.
She's an inspiration to all of us.
Navigating life's detours with relentless faith.
He could have healed me, he could have stopped it, he could have done anything he wanted, but I think he just changed my assignment.
The Becky Reeves Story, Testament of Triumphs, tonight at 10 on KSL.
Are you in search of a fulfilling career where you can work on a team that provides you room to grow, learn, and thrive every day? Focus Engineering and Surveying is looking for individuals to join their team who take pride in the customer service they provide and have a passion for their clients to be successful. No experience in engineering, CAD design, or surveying? No problem. Focus will train those who fit their team culture for rewarding careers in surveying and CAD design. If you can align with the core ideology and the Focus team culture, if you're internally driven, team-oriented, client-focused, and love personal development and growth, Focus Engineering and Surveying is the place for you. Enjoy a positive work environment and paid internship opportunities, plus fantastic benefits like great health care with 80% employer-paid premium and HSA matched up to $200 per month, 401k, vacation, even annual performance bonuses. Start your journey towards your new and fulfilling career. Apply now at FocusUtah.com. That's FocusUtah.com.
Are you and your credit card ready for some peace and quiet? Experience the relief of a low rate with the Mountain America credit card. With a 3% cash bonus on balance transfers, it's more relaxing than ever. Open a Mountain America credit card today for your limited time bonus. Details at macu.com/transfer. Loans and approved credit. Membership required based on eligibility. Offer can change or be withdrawn at any time. Terms, conditions, and restrictions apply.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Mountain America's limited time balance transfer bonus. Here's Heather Kelly.
We are still accident-free all across the Wasatch Front, but we have been alerted to the fact that a traffic light is not working on 300 West at 200 South. You may need to treat that as a four-way stop if that hasn't been repaired in the last few minutes. And then you may see backups from that as well. Otherwise, you're going to have a good drive on the I-15 corridor, both directions throughout Utah, Salt Lake, and Davis counties, as well as the east and west side belt routes around the Salt Lake Valley. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
Sunny today with a high of 49. Tonight's low about 30. Then tomorrow, 52 degrees for the high. Right now, it's fair 42 degrees. I'm Becky Bruce from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio. Priced Out, housing, special coverage with Dave and Dujanovic.
Well, what do you want to bet? Somebody listening has been in this spot at some point or another. They're out buying a home, you make an offer, and you find out you got squeezed out for your great offer because an investor or an investment group swooped in with cash, offered more money on that house. And so that you got to keep searching, and you got to keep hoping that your offer catches the eyes of the home seller and another investor doesn't swoop in.
1 out of every 6 or 7 homes are purchased right now by investors. It's not just you and me. It's not our families. It's not our first-time home. It's an investor coming out. 1 out of every 6 or 7 homes seems like an incredible number for me. And that's the all-time high, right? This is a huge trend for investments. And what is heartbreaking about this is $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 for you and me. That is hard-earned cash. That is tough money to come up with. It is saving. It is grabbing side hustles. It is squirreling it away. What's $15,000 to a private equity company, an investor group, where $15,000 is a rounding error? They don't give it a second thought. How do you compete with that? Well, you don't. You lose.
I'm trying to figure out if this has ever happened to me, where I'm standing there thinking I'm going to get the call that we got the house, and then we found out an investment firm swooped in and got the house out from under us. And, oh, by the way, they're going to rent it out, so my sweet little family can't move in. I'm trying to think if that's ever happened to me. It would be disheartening if it kept happening over and over and over and over again. Well, there is a proposal on Utah's Capitol Hill that would have, at least temporarily, for 4 weeks or so, pushed investors to the sidelines when a house goes on the market. Because it just, in my experience, when a house goes on the market, it immediately generates all kinds of excitement and interest. And that's the time an investor is probably going to swoop in and snatch it up before you even get your family in the car to go over there to look at it. Let's get more right now from KSL News Radio's Tammy Kikuchi. And then we'll debate this. We'll talk about this. We're also going to take your live calls.
House Bill 151 would allow traditional homebuyers a 1-month head start on investors who would be required to sign an affidavit of intent to occupy the home. Lisa Thompson, a realtor, told the House committee that investors have more leverage.
There are a lot more homebuyers than investors. The problem is the investors can come in with cash or can shorten days because they don't do the financing, and so their offers were being picked.
The concern is that investors are turning the single-family homes into rentals. The committee approved a motion to hold the bill that could come back up later. Tammy Kikuchi, KSL News Radio.
And that is exactly what is happening. Of course, I think so many of us have had this experience, and again, to the point, one out of every 6 or 7 homes is being bought up by some investment group or a private investor or individual that is going out and looking at it as a long-term investment. But I'll maybe have a little bit of a different take on this, Deb. I still like that investors are out there bidding on homes, because the more competition, the more valuable the home. If you start excluding investors from my pool as I'm trying to garner up and generate interest in my home, I want as many people coming in so I can get them in a bidding war, and then my home goes through the roof, right? I get more money than I expected, or maybe I get my asking price, and I'm not having to make cuts every couple of weeks. I love having investors in the pool because that just generates more value for my home.
So you heard Tammy report that this has been put on ice, at least for now. It's on hold on Capitol Hill. But what it would have done, like let's pretend it passed and it got signed, it didn't. It's on hold. It would have pushed investors to the sidelines for 30 days. So there's first-time home buyers, second-time home buyers, families looking to sell their first-time home and move up to a larger home would have had first dibs, if you will. Mm-hmm. So you're looking at that from a seller's perspective. I have had opportunities to drive my children around looking for homes. And now I'm remembering there are times when you watch your child's face, just sink into disappointment, because they have saved and saved and saved and saved and saved, and you're looking forward to them getting into their first home, hopefully maybe at an age where you got into your first home. For me, it was in my mid-20s. I was in my first home. Thankfully, I was so glad and grateful to be able to do that. And then they're fighting investors. Our kids are on Main Street fighting Wall Street. It's just not a fair fight. So for me, as a longtime homeowner now, who was fortunate enough to get her foot in the door at a very young age, I'm pulling for my kids. I am not pulling for $15,000 more on that house sale, because ultimately these investors are smart. I'm going to presume they're using AI and all of the info to not come in too high, because one thing, if you've learned anything about investments over the years, you don't want to spend too much money on that investment because you got to make it up somehow. Yeah. So they're using all of the tools, and my kids are using their savings account. So now, how do I feel about 30 days? I don't know if that's the difference maker or not, but I thought, this could be an opportunity. Now, I see some faults with it too, right? Some potential problems with it as well. I mean, I was once one of those investors you speak of, right? It's just a lowly, buying one condo so I can rent it out investor. And that would probably mean I couldn't get to a house right away that has been on the market for a day if this legislation became law. So if I'm looking to expand my little meek portfolio, if you will, it's not anything compared to what I wish it was. But if I decided to, I would be behind by 30 days.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'd love to hear from our listeners, because do you like the idea of investors getting in on the bidding war? Do you like this idea? I do. I want everybody bidding on my home. I don't care who is bidding on it, because it's my most valuable asset. It's the greatest opportunity I have to make money, and make a lot of money, is cashing out at a premium on my home. I want single families. I want buddies in their frat house. I want everybody. I want investors, everybody bidding on my home so I can get a premium. Does that drive up the cost for everybody else? Yes, and I understand that. Do you like it? 801-575-TALK. Do you like the idea of bidding against investors? Or, as this proposal would have it, the investors have to sit on the sidelines for 30 days before they can even get in the game. 801-575-TALK.
Yeah, well, I care about the kids.
I don't care about the children.
Well, you just come at it from a different perspective, and that's okay. But I would challenge you to drive around with your kids looking for homes, trying to make that down payment. And it is like being in a room with no windows, no doors, and the lights are off. You've got nowhere to go because you'll never be able to come up with the cash to outbid Wall Street. Not at 25, not at 30, maybe by 35. I don't know. I just look at it from a different perspective. 801-575-TALK. Do you think investors should be put on the sideline for 30 days while home buyers, like just the average home buyer, has a chance to swoop in and make their offer before an investment firm comes in and scoops it up and turns it probably into a rental property? And it sounds like, just to get more nuanced with this legislation, what would have to happen, it would require buyers of single-family homes to sign an affidavit. It looks like it might be specific to Salt Lake County. We'll look into that a little deeper. Affidavit saying they intend to live there for at least a year if the purchase is made within the first 30 days of the property on the market. So you'd have to sign an affidavit that you intend to live there. And in other words, what you're swearing to when you do that is you aren't going to flip it into a rental right away.
I promise this is me. I'm going to live there. I'm not an investor that is posing as a family of four. That's what it's asking you to do, right? 801-575-TALK. Do you like the idea of investors being in on the bidding war when you're selling your home? I absolutely do. Because, and I'll be honest, when I sold my house, and I've talked about this a fair amount, I sold my house, close to a year ago. And I think there may have been an investor involved in our little bidding war. And the family that ultimately landed on it probably paid an extra $10,000 over the investor. They had to outbid the investor. So yeah, did it drive up the cost another $10,000, $15,000? Yeah, probably. It probably did. Did I take that into consideration when the bidding war was happening? I did not, because I have to be a little selfish, and I think I'm allowed to be that person. I'm allowed to be selfish in that moment because this is my biggest investment, and I have put a new roof on, and I have redone the sprinkling system. I need to cash out on this money pit of the last 20 years.
Hi, Ryan. It sounds like you're a local investor. So what's your perspective on this? Is it kind of let the free market drive whatever it drives?
Absolutely. You know, as a mom and pop investor, I buy homes, and we provide a valuable service to the renters that's out there. And bringing in this type of legislation distorts the marketplace and let the market ride. You know, we would not buy the homes if we couldn't provide a profit, and that's kind of just how the market works. And I think having as many participants helps keep the prices down. And honestly, all that's going to happen is the investors are just going to sit for 30 days, or when we list our properties, we're going to not do anything for 30 days and just wait till that time expires.
So here's a twist. When I moved into an HOA, I hadn't lived in an HOA in forever, and then I moved into an HOA. I think I signed an affidavit said that I intend to live there, or I don't intend to flip the property. What do you think about HOAs that make requirements in terms of whether you have live there, or you can rent it, or you promise not to flip the property right away? Is that okay?
Yeah, and in fact, all the properties that I have HOAs, and they have those restrictions. And the HOA can make the rules and regulations that they want to make, and there's nothing wrong with that. really, that all that means is that they just don't want the flippers coming in. I think that's fine. For most of the investors, we're looking to come in, provide stable housing for renters for all different types of demographics. And, we're typically holding it for, I'd say the average investor does tend to hold 5 to 7 years through the market cycles.
Yeah.
That's just my observation.
Ryan, thank you. That's a great perspective. Let's jump out to Jenna in Pleasant Grove. Looks like you're an investor and a homeowner. So we've had a couple investors talking about this. What's your perspective?
So I just own a couple of rental properties, and I own my own home. I do think that there are some regulations out there. When we purchased this condo, they were building them, and there was a limit to how many could be investment properties. But I do get concerned when a lot of these big corporations or Wall Street, as you say, are like buying up whole neighborhoods. And it does make it so that my kids and my grandkids will have a more difficult time purchasing. So it is a mixed bag. I think there needs to be some kind of regulation. I don't know if 30 days is the answer, but I think it's important for investors to have opportunities, but also I just think there does need to be fairness in the marketplace, because you're right, we don't have the cash. I don't even have the cash as an investor to compete with Wall Street. So I think there needs to be some checks and balances.
Thanks, Janelyn. Hi, Adam.
Hi, guys.
So you don't really love the fact that investors might be sparking bidding wars in the beginning?
I don't. As a homeowner, I think that investors can take a seat on the sidelines for a minute, but part of my issue is that I feel like it really changes the dynamic of a neighborhood when most of your neighbors are renters versus homeowners. And so personally, I would like to live next to homeowners. I would like to live next to someone that also feels invested in their home the same way that Dave does and wants to get a good return out of it. Yeah. Completely understand that. But again, I think the dynamic of the neighborhood starts to shift in a way that I don't want it to.
So in a curious twist to that, Adam, thanks so much for your call. I'm just going to expand on that. I went on a walk yesterday because, I thought it was 70 degrees outside. I mean, it was sunny and skies were blue, but I walk outside and it's like 40. But anyway, I continued on my walk because I'm so stubborn. And I walked by my neighbor's house, and it lives a couple doors down. And I noticed they'd moved out. They just up and moved out. I never saw a for sale sign. No fanfare, didn't even see a moving truck. They're just gone. They're gone. Well, I thought they'd own the home. Home. And in a moment, a light bulb moment that I had on my walk, I now think they were tenants there. And I had no idea. Might just be luck of the draw, right? I mean, I understand. I've lived in neighborhoods where, the next door neighbor moves out and they decided to turn it into a rental or something like that. And then you're like, oh, no. And then you're like, oh, yeah, that oh, no was, it definitely turned into an oh, no. But I don't think all tenants are disruptive to the neighborhood either. It's just my perspective. Of course, this is coming from a former landlord too. I rented out. It's important. It was important for me to move people in to my places that were good people. They were good neighbors. They kept up my place. They didn't want to have ragers on Saturday and Sunday nights,
And I think fundamentally, Adam, I see where you're coming from, right? I do want to have a neighborhood feel. I had neighbors 20, 30, 40 years. They lived in the same neighborhood, and we had these long, decades-long relationships, dear friends. And when it's more transactional, and that's kind of what rentals are, it becomes a more transactional thing, short-term. I understand that. But are you asking me as the homeowner, if I'm selling, what do? Do I have to accept that I'm going to take a 10 or 15% cut on my home, that I have to sell it for $20,000 less? Because if I can bring investors in here, that's going to drive up the market. So you're asking me to sacrifice money, quite frankly, that I don't have to sacrifice. This is an investment more than anything.
Hi, Scott. It sounds like you're coming at this with a long lens, looking way into the future.
Yeah, so I think what we have to consider is what is our best vision for the future. And Dave, your circumstance I can fully appreciate, but if if a new person never has an opportunity to buy a home, your situation won't be the case in the future. I actually own some stock in a company that does this, that buys homes and rents them out, and I've put it up for sale because conscientiously, I don't think it's the right thing to do. I think that we should have a vision for the future that allows home ownership. I would hate to see a world 30 years from now where big corporations own every house. I don't think that's the American dream. Now, I don't know if this legislation's the answer or not, but I think we need to consider what is our long-term best vision of the future.
Well, Scott, thank you so much. That's kind of probably where I fall. I'm a little selfish because I'm the mom, wanting her kids to get into their first home and don't want them to be priced out by investors. But you're right. I mean, the other people have kids too, and they want their kids to get into homes, and they want them to live not with them, but close to them.
Another angle to this is I think sometimes we demonize investors or groups or Wall Street. Who do you think is investing in your 401k? Where do you think that money's coming from? That stability that you're counting on in your 401k, your IRA, whatever it might be, your pension plan. You want it to be diversified. You want them involved in the real estate, which is stable and reliable. Right? I mean, you start removing investors from one of the most stable, profitable areas of our economy, then I think we're shooting ourselves in the foot. So I'm not saying that investors aren't driving up costs. I absolutely think they are. They're also adding stability to our 401ks.
Hi, Mike. It sounds like you are anti more investors moving into the housing market, at least initially.
Yeah, I'm afraid I am. And I think Dave would be a little bit different if maybe he was older. But the way I look at it, I have two kids that have already had to move out of the state, and I hate it. I have two more that are still here, but they're struggling. And as far as I'm concerned, I would be more than willing to lose $15,000, even more, if it meant my kids could stick around.
Yeah, it's a tough one. Mike, thank you. And I think my kids are just, entering that age where they're starting to get careers and look at buying a home. One thing that has surprised me is the average age of the first-time home buyer is 38 years old. That is shocking. There's no question when we're looking at the cost of homes right now, we're not buying homes at 25 years old anymore. No 25-year-old 2 or 3 years out of college is making $130,000 where they can put a down payment. They've saved, $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 in a down payment. I understand that's just not a reality anymore. And I do feel bad about that. I'm just not sure government coming in, putting their fingers on the scales, suppressing investors is the right answer.
Straight ahead, I'll be honest with you, this is going to be my favorite segment of the show. We're going to hear from a Saratoga Springs 6th grader, Dave, who's been named the kindest kid in all of America. She's calling the show next.
Will you get your fair share of benefits from Social Security? You know, the new Social Security Fairness Act could impact thousands of Utah families. For personal guidance on how it could impact your Social Security filing decision, get a free Social Security analysis from Boss Retirement Solutions. If you've saved more than $200,000 and have not filed for Social Security, schedule your free analysis now by calling 801-896-9622. Filing for Social Security could be one of the biggest financial decisions of your life because the difference between your best and worst case scenarios could literally be hundreds of thousands of dollars. You only get one chance to get this right. So get your free customized analysis now by calling 801-896-9622. 801-896-9622. Boss Retirement Solutions is not affiliated with the Social Security Administration.
Take advantage of Yes Heating, Air Conditioning, Plumbing, and Electric's $99 or it's free mainline drain clearing special. That's right, $99 or it's free. Feel secure knowing the trusted professionals at Yes guarantee that if we can't clear it, you don't pay for it. Whether it's a small clog or a larger mainline sewer drain issue, the experienced technicians at Yes are ready to solve all of your drain problems. Call now or visit theyesmancan.com for details, terms, and conditions.
It doesn't matter if your only neighbors are wildlife or just wild in general. If you work from home or work is technically at home, every homeowner can save money by getting a ThermWise home energy plan from Enbridge Gas. Discover ways to make your home more energy efficient and apply for rebates if you purchase any energy efficient appliances. Schedule a home energy plan from Enbridge Gas at thermwise.com.
Something amazing is happening in education. Students are inspired and engaged. That's because school districts consulted with CDW, who designed modern classroom solutions with pre-configured HP devices, making learning more accessible, secure, and immersive. Now when students study topics like elephants, it feels like elephants are there with them. HP and CDW. Make amazing happen. Learn more at cdw.com/HPPSG.
Okay, I have to tell you, I was just looking on eBay where I go for all kinds of things I love, and there it was.
That hologram trading card. One of the rarest, the last one I needed for my set. Shiny like the
designer handbag of my dreams. One of a kind. eBay had it, and now everyone's asking, ooh, where'd you get your
windshield wipers? eBay has all the parts that fit my car. No more annoying, just beautiful.
Whatever you love, find it on eBay. eBay. Things people love.
How does a soccer club born in an unlikely place,
Utah? You sure you want to do that in Utah?
built with players no one else wanted,
We knew no one believed in us.
reach the league's highest heights?
We finally did it. It was like just this feeling of getting to the top of the mountain.
How does that same team find a way to shatter expectations in the midst of a fight for its own survival?
Our club is burning to the ground as we speak.
I'm Amy Donaldson, and in a new podcast, Making of a Moment, the RSL story, we take a closer look at one of those iconic sports moments
Soccer is a crazy game, and we saw it firsthand tonight.
and unravel how knowing the truth of these moments can transform what they mean.
I just kind of got chills right now thinking about it.
Making of a Moment, the RSL story, is available now. Follow us at makingamomentpod.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
Jeff Kaplan. When you're online, that's sometimes a source of fourth-hand information. Somebody does the reporting. Another website Googles, they find it, they rewrite it, and by the time you read it, you know the old game telephone. But KSL is a source of primary information. We have reporters on the street. They're out in the field finding out the details. And the difference between online and KSL News Radio, night and day.
Jeff Kaplan's Afternoon News, 3 to 7 on KSL News Radio.
11:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Claire Scott. KSL's top story this hour. There's a push among state lawmakers to have a zero-tolerance drug policy in place in homeless shelters across the state.
What they're going to do is they're going to conduct a bag check, a search through someone's belongings that they're bringing in at the point of entry, and then they're going to have policies about conduct and exits.
Representative Tyler Clancy tells David Dujanovic he doesn't want to discourage people from using the shelter. The bill has advanced out of committee to the full House. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. President Donald Trump held the first cabinet meeting of his second administration today at the White House. The president said the U.S. has seen a sharp drop in southern border crossings under his administration, but says the immigration numbers will not sway him from issuing tariffs on imports of Mexico and Canada.
I was going to do it on April 1st, but I'm a little bit superstitious, so I made it April 2nd. The tariffs go on, not all of them, but a lot of them, and I think you're going to see something that's going to be amazing.
Elon Musk also spoke during the meeting and spent some time defending federal cuts made by his Department of Government Efficiency. Your money at this moment, the Dow is down 215 points, the S&P is flat. And coming up, sunny skies and a high of 49. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 11:31.
A reminder about the simplest way to get updated for your day.
Hit your KSL preset when you jump in the car, and we'll take care of the rest.
Hear key news updates and traffic reports.
Andy and Amanda from 5 to 9 in your car.
KSL News Radio at 102.7 FM.
If you're looking at losing some weight, let me tell you about the Salt Lake City Fat Loss Program. When I started a year ago, they told me I could lose up to a pound of fat per day. And that sounded very optimistic, and I was a little bit doubtful that I could see those kind of results. But sure enough, in 2 months, in 60 days, I lost 57 pounds with Salt Lake City Fat Loss, and I did it without injections, and I did it without any surgery. That was a big part of it for me, as I didn't want to dive into the scary needles or have some surgery. So that with this Salt Lake City Fat Loss program, it's not complicated. There's no intense point counting, and you're not on your app all day logging all your food. It really is understandable. You can follow it. It's easy to remember. There's no insane exercise program where you're doing push-ups and sit-ups while you're doing curl. I mean, it's no insane exercise program and no prepackaged meals. So if you're interested, go ahead and reach out to Salt Lake City Fat Loss. You're going to get an extra $200 off the program right now. And again, I lost 57 pounds in 60 days. So go ahead and check them out at slcfatloss.com.
Getting help with electrical repairs is easier than you think. All you have to do is call Any Hour Services or schedule an appointment at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Mountain America's limited time balance transfer bonus. Here's Ricky Meese.
Right now, we have a nice and quiet commute, but a KSL traffic trooper reporting debris in the road, some pieces of wood in some of those center and right lanes of travel northbound I-15 just before 6 North. The Murdoch Auto Team is celebrating 100 years of winter journeys at Murdoch Chevrolet. Right now, take up to $6,250 off a new 2024 Equinox. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
Sunny skies this week with highs in the 50s. We'll see temperatures jump up to the high 50s and possibly 60 on Sunday. Right now it is 42 and fair. I'm Claire Scott from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, web, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
I think we could all use a dose of really good news right now. And this, quite frankly, I can tell right now that this is going to be my absolute favorite discussion of the day, probably of the week, maybe of the month, because live on the line is the kindest kid in America. She's calling us from Saratoga Springs, and we're going to ask her how in the world she managed to be named the kindest kid in all of America, Dave.
Yeah, the kindest kid in America right here in our backyard. It's awesome. I went to their website. It's kindestkidinamerica.com, and this is a program. It's a national program where they're going out into the communities and trying to figure out what kids are doing to lift others up, to be kind, to show that love to the folks around them. In fact, the young lady that's joining us, Aspen Raleigh, she was acknowledged by Governor Spencer Cox for winning this award.
Governor Spencer Cox, I wanted to congratulate Aspen on winning the Kindest Kid in America award. Aspen, you are an incredible example of leadership, courage, and strength. You inspire us all. To all the other students at Sage Hills Elementary, I encourage you to consider how you can spread kindness. Kindness is powerful and infectious. When we are kind to others, we help make our world a better place. Congratulations again to Aspen. Thank you for being awesome.
And the reason the Kindest Kid in America started up is because they are convinced that kindness can prevent school shootings. That's one of their mission statements. They're concerned about what's happening around this country, and they think that kindness can be just as contagious as hate if it's presented in the right way.
Well, I can't wait to speak to Aspen. Hi, Aspen.
Hi.
So tell us how old you are and what grade you're in.
Hi, Dave and Debbie. I am so thankful that I am on this program today. I am at Sage Hills, and I'm in 6th grade.
6th grade. So that makes you, 12 years old, Aspen?
Yes.
Okay. I've been so thrilled to learn what different things that you did to become the kindest kid in all of America. So what did you do? What did you do to win this award, Aspen?
Well, I don't think kindness is about getting an award. I don't think kindness also just appears. You have to work for kindness. And it doesn't start like, oh, I'm gonna be kind today. You have to start every single day like that to know I'm gonna have a good attitude. I'm gonna be nice. I'm gonna help people if they're sad. I always try to be kind whenever someone's having a hard day, and even if they weren't nice to me, I am like, yeah, you can sit with us at lunch. You can hang out with me at recess. It's just hard when so many things in your life have happened, and it's like you got to wrap your mind around it all, and it's just so exciting to know that being kind can really change other people's way of thinking.
Yeah. Aspen, really? I love that piece of advice. I am taking notes right now as you say, if someone's mean to you, you can still reach out, invite them to lunch. That can be tough, even for adults. And at 12 years old, you say you have to kind of make this a conscious decision. You have to say, I'm going to do this every single day. How do you, if you're maybe not feeling it for yourself, if maybe you're having kind of a rough day yourself, how do you still find it a way to be kind?
Well, it's not only me that's kind. Everyone else has that kindness in them. And when they even just smile at me or give me a high five, it lifts my heart and spirit. And even saying like, hey, I like your outfit, you're not receiving the compliment, but it makes you feel good to say it.
Yeah. I think you're right. You can make somebody else feel better, but also when you're giving that compliment to somebody else, you feel better too. It feels good to make somebody else's day. We're speaking live right now to Aspen Rowley. She's a 12-year-old from Saratoga Springs who has been named the kindest kid in America. So, Aspen, are you sitting next to your principal?
Yes, I am.
So can we bring Terry Rigby on the phone? I want to, because you're not giving me the insight on some of the different projects that you did, because I'm sure you don't want to brag about it, to be named the kindest kid in America. Besides just being super kind and inviting kids, of course, so important to sit by you during lunch and play with you at recess and have a friend to walk to the next, down the hall with. Principal Rigby, I am looking at a list of awesome things that Aspen did to be named the kindest kid in America, and it's things like she gave food to the homeless, she cleaned up trash out in nature, wrote kind notes for her family. Can you expand on that? To tell, because these are acts of kindness that also go a long way.
Yes, she has done so many things, not only in our school, but a lot of the things that you just named are things that she came up with on her own and did them with friends and family. A couple of weeks ago, we were able to gather food for families in need, and she was a big part of that, helping sort the food into buckets every day. Our school gave 20, was it 20, Aspen?
I think it was like 23.
Yeah, 23 great big huge containers full of food that we were able to take to other places and help people like that. In addition to that, throughout the school year, she goes out of her way to find kids who she thinks might be looking down on themselves, and she talks to them and smiles to them, gives them compliments, just helps them to feel better about themselves. She just thinks of others instead of herself.
I find the mission of the Kindest Kid in America, it's an organization. They actually will go out into the community, and they have kindness speakers that will speak at elementary schools. And I think one of the things that stood out to me is they find that kindness can prevent school shootings. That's one of the things they mention in their mission statement, and how important it is not to just focus on kids that are struggling or maybe angry, but how to overcome some of that anger and hate that can bubble up sometimes. How do you make it contagious? How do you make kindness contagious? And how has Aspen maybe demonstrated that?
Well, we've started a program this year at our school that really dwells on being positive and kind to others. Students can earn awards given by teachers and the rest of the school. If we see someone doing something nice, we give them those awards, and then classes all together work on being kind and positive. And as a school, we feel like our kids are much more happy because they're working on trying to be happy, trying to be kind to other people rather than getting down on themselves. And so I think overall, and Aspen is on our student council, so they've all helped with that to try to encourage kindness throughout the whole school.
That's great.
It's really been great.
That's great. Well, it sounds like you got a great community there. Aspen, are you back on the line with us?
Yes.
Okay, we're going to let you go back to school. Well, maybe it's close to the lunch hour. But I just wanted to say thank you so much for all you're doing for your fellow students at your school there and for your community. It's been so fun to have you on the show, and you've really lifted my spirits, so I really appreciate that. So keep being the kindest kid in America, spreading the joy, okay?
Okay, I'll try my best.
I have no doubt that you will be amazing at that. So thanks, Aspen. It's been so fun to talk to you. We needed a dose of good news today, and it came in the form of the kindest kid in America out of Saratoga Springs, Utah.
Yeah, right here in our backyard. So very excited for Aspen. And it was nice to hear the governor recognize her in this accomplishment. But it really is one of those things. It's very easy to focus on the negative. It's very easy to focus on the sad things that are happening in our community, and it's inevitable that we have to address those things. But when something awesome happens from an awesome kid, we want to acknowledge that as well. So Aspen Rally, congratulations, the kindest kid in America.
This is Derek Miller speaking on business. Ability Inclusion Services, previously known as the Work Activities Center, has grown into one of Utah's most vibrant disability communities, offering essential resources, meaningful programs, and unwavering support for individuals with disabilities and their families. Executive Director and Operations Manager Kristen Floyd joins us with more.
At Ability Inclusion Services, we're passionate about helping individuals with disabilities live independently, grow personally, and engage fully in their communities. In 2024, we rebranded with a fresh name and enhanced programs to better reflect our mission of inclusion and empowerment. Our services include life skills training, social engagement, and community-based activities that foster independence and meaningful connections. One of our most exciting developments is our new apartment complex, providing safe, affordable, and supportive housing for those we serve. We also launched a private scholarship program to help individuals without state funding access essential services. By expanding opportunities and removing financial barriers, we're making it possible for more people to thrive. Everything we do is focused on ability. Our team works every day to create a more inclusive world where everyone has the chance to reach their full potential.
Ability Inclusion Services continues to turn its vision into reality by expanding inclusive housing, enhancing life-enriching programs, and breaking down barriers to accessibility. To learn more or get involved, visit the Ability Inclusion Services website. I'm Derek Miller with the Salt Lake Chamber, speaking on business.
On the surface, it seemed like just another Cinderella story.
The team that was predicted to finish dead last is now waiting to play the first round of the playoffs.
But Real Salt Lake's 2021 playoff run was so much more than what happened on the pitch.
Our club is burning to the ground.
This is the tip of the iceberg.
Making of a Moment, the RSL story, is available now.
I just kind of got chills right now thinking about it.
Follow us at makingamomentpod.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Well, Dave just about fell out of his chair this morning when he learned, of all things, his former police department, because he's no longer living in Kaysville, but he grew up there. Kaysville Police Department dedicating 2 parking stalls at the police department as a safe exchange zone. So if you're buying something online from a perfect stranger and you live in that area, you can now meet them at the Kaysville Police Department. There's going to be marked parking stalls for you to swap merchandise, maybe swap money, and you can feel so much safer doing this. I cannot figure out why this was news to him.
This is brand new information. Absolutely no idea that these things existed. I'm like, this is an amazing idea. We should totally have everybody doing this. And Debbie's like, they do, Dave. You're the only one that doesn't know about the safe exchange zone, because I have done the unsafe exchange zone my entire life.
So, okay. So I'll go over the list of all of the police departments that I know of across the Wasatch Front who have these safe exchange zone parking lots. And they've been in place for years. I'm glad Kaysville now has one. And I'm glad we're alerting you and others that there's these safe exchange zones. But I want to hear about, the back alleys that you've met in to swap concert tickets, or maybe you're buying somebody's shoes, or I don't know, a TV. Like, where have you gone to buy things out of the classifieds?
Into somebody's basement.
Stop it. I can't even believe.
Straight up, I took my wife and myself down into somebody's basement to pick up a reclining chair that I got for $25.
Oh,
I mean, if I don't have a death wish, I don't know how you would describe this. I look at it as I've got to be the luckiest guy in America because the things that where I put myself, I'm like, oh yeah, this is totally fine.
Time out. You brought your wife into
the
situation.
No, we were both going down with the ship. For sure.
I bet you didn't even give it a second thought.
Not a second thought.
You're just so glad to score and by the way,
$25 recliner.
A used recliner. That's a whole nother discussion. Really?
A pet-free zone, though. I'm just telling you.
Okay, so you walk into somebody's basement. It obviously turned out okay.
Yeah. Yeah, we got out. We got out safe.
With the chair and all?
Yeah. It's actually 2 chairs for $25.
Really? Okay. Oh.
Top end.
Okay.
High end.
We got to talk about there's certain things you don't thrift, but that's another. And I would say a couch and recliner, they're neck and neck at the top of the list. But nonetheless,
that's all we buy.
Of course, you took them home and you cleaned them and all that other stuff. I'm sure they were fine. Okay. Anywho, where else have you met up with strangers?
Oh my goodness. Okay, so it's a long list. I've driven up into the woods.
This is getting
okay. It wasn't
more
like
concerning.
the woods. It was a rest stop, and it just happened to be. It just happened to be up in a canyon, and there may or may not have been nobody in the parking lot other than me and this individual.
And was that to buy the matching sofa that matched the 2 thrifted chairs you just bought from the person's basement?
No, it was AirPods, and they were definitely not stolen. They were definitely not stolen AirPods either.
I need to know from our texters. Am I up in the night? I think that's the second thing on the list you're not supposed to buy used. 57500. Do you agree with me? Come on, you got to agree with me.
What do you think we have alcohol wipes for, Debbie? That's why you have alcohol wipes.
I thought maybe it was something like, I don't know, a throw pillow or something like that. You could put in the washing machine. And those AirPods. So far we have 2 used reclining chairs from some dude's basement, and you went into the basement.
Yep.
And then we have AirPods. You met somebody in just a mysterious location off the side of the road. Okay, anywhere else I need to know about?
Well, I don't want to admit to anything more because I just get made fun of.
We got time. We got 5 minutes. Anywhere else?
Okay, so one place, because I realize that at some point you may want to do it in a public situation, right?
Yes.
So I bought a golf club, and we met at a McDonald's. And guess what? There were lots of people around, Debbie. You would have been very proud of me.
That's a good place to meet.
I
am proud of you.
Okay.
You're stepping up your game, your security game.
I don't want to admit this last one.
Please do, though, because now you have to.
The last one, in retrospect, I look at it and I think, okay, maybe I didn't need the $40 new pair of shoes because I had...
This is so weird.
They were down in Provo.
Stop.
And I live in Syracuse.
Oh, so it's an hour and a half long drive.
But it's only a 5-minute drive for my daughter, who lives down.
You did not. You did not. I would never.
Okay.
You've been stripped of Father of the Year award. You were in the running. You were actually the top candidate. You're being canceled.
Hey, honey, I need you to go pick up some new shoes from a guy.
Were they new shoes or were they used?
They were, well, it doesn't matter. I think I've proven that I don't care whether it's new or used. It's not easy to find size 15s. There's not a lot of size 15s along the Wasatch Front. So when I see a good deal, I got to jump on that good deal. And my daughter was, she was 5 minutes away. It wouldn't make any sense for me to drive an hour and a half down there.
Except for the safety factor of it all.
We did it at a Smith's.
Nice.
Smith's parking lot.
Well, Smith's parking after midnight.
No, this was in the middle of the day. Like, this is rush
Well, those are
hour
smart.
Smith's.
So, all right. I'm super safety oriented. And I've done stories for years and years and years on things that can go bad. So I, of course, it doesn't matter what it is. I'm thinking of a way this could go south real quick. And when you talk about these kinds of things, I'm like, you need to be meeting in not only well-lit parking lots, but where there's a ton of foot traffic, people are around. And I'm glad that you didn't send your daughter to somebody's basement to get those shoes. That's a good dad move.
Yeah, that would have been a bad decision.
I still think you should have gone.
I make all these good decisions. Hold on, you're judging me over here when you fully know that there are safe exchange zones that existed. I at least had ignorance.
I didn't know.
You're gatekeeping these safe exchange zones right outside the police department.
And you don't need a safe exchange zone at the police department to show up at your police department to safely exchange something you see on the classifieds. I mean, I suggest you could even go to a big parking lot at a fire station, okay? So, but thankfully, Kaysville PD now has 2 dedicated parking stalls at their office as a safe exchange zone. Years ago, I did a news story on buying used cell phones. And my suggestion was meet them at the cell phone store during business hours that you're going to purchase when you're going to purchase that cell phone, because you can actually go into the business. You can make sure it's a legitimate account. You're not buying some stolen cell phone. Okay?
Oh, I had a problem with that.
Exactly. So there's your
Yep.
other. But you can go to a safe exchange zone at a police department for any number of things when you're buying and selling. And selling on Facebook Marketplace, super popular. You might be looking through the classifieds online, and you want a safe place to swap the merchandise. North Salt Lake has one as well at City Hall. Ogden has one as well near the Public Safety Building. West Jordan, they have a safe exchange zone at the police department. It's available 24/7. I always suggest don't go at night. I know some people work weird shifts. They have to go at night to do these swaps. I suggest go during daylight hours. We talked about Kaysville, Layton. 2 surf and swim, 2 stalls between the surf and swim and the police department in Layton. Farmington, 2 stalls at the police department there. It looks like it's in the south lot. Clinton, 3 stalls. There must be a lot of exchanges going on in Clinton.
This is what I love about it. When you're texting, hey, where do you want to meet? And you say, let's meet at the safe exchange zone outside of the police department in Layton, you are weeding out any nefarious activity. Like, no one's showing up. No bad actor is going to show up at the Layton Police Department at the safe exchange zone.
Yeah.
So that is absolutely, that's my new go-to. I'm going to find the safe exchange zones, and that's what I'm going to use, at least when I send my daughter.
Okay, big agenda ahead for the afternoon on our lineup here at KSL News Radio. Maria Chaleos up next with more on Utah's new news as a group of Utah attorneys gathering at the Capitol right now to raise concerns over what they see as lawmaker attacks on the judicial system. Then, inside sources from 1 to 3, taking a close inside look at many of the proposals still left on Utah's Capitol Hill as the legislature winds down.
Hi, this is Doug Wright, and it's time to start thinking about the great events that are just around the corner in March. And as you consider the opportunities for entertainment, for ball games, for celebration, I want you to remember Ruth's Chris Steakhouse, where you are going to find the best steak you have ever had. But it's not just about steaks. It's about poultry and seafood and the side dishes and the desserts. They're all waiting for you at Ruth's Chris Steakhouse. The perfect time to put together a killer St. Patrick's party? Right, it's Ruth's Chris Steakhouse. And of course, with all of the March madness, Ruth's Chris Steakhouse, when you're enjoying the games, it's time for you to make your reservations or pick up a gift card. And remember, always save room for dessert. Oh, and by the way, maybe you're going to be up skiing. Well, Hotel Park City. There's a Ruth's Chris Steakhouse